Chapter 72. In the central room, Tung Yunlong and the others were completely stunned. In a flash, he appeared on a distant roof, and in another flash, he disappeared from their sight. Was this still the Tung Qingshan they knew? Qingshan? Tung Yongfan stammered. This is Qinggong, the most powerful Qinggong. Tung Yunlong reacted and said with surprise, When I was young, I saw Master Hong use Qinggong. Master Hong's sea speed was not as fast as Qingshan. Too fast, faster than a galloping horse. Qingshan actually has such a powerful Qinggong. Brother is so powerful. Qingyu was very excited. Foster father, if Qingshan goes out now, will he? Mother Yuan Lan worriedly said. Tung Yunlong also frowned and said, Didn't you hear what Qingshan said? That Hong Zhenjie doesn't have the post-liminary realm. If Qingshan goes out now, he will kill the young master Hong Zhenjie and the people of the White Horse Battalion. Teacher, will there be any problems? Tung Yongfan was also very worried. After all, the White Horse Battalion was too famous. They were the most elite troops of the White Horse Gang. Every soldier of the White Horse Battalion wore heavy armor and rode on top of the war horses. When they charged, even a peak post-liminary realm expert would find it hard to escape. I have never been able to see through Qingshan. At the age of 10, he could exterminate a wolf pack, kill the Wolf King, and create the Tiger Fist by himself. Without anyone to teach him, he could reach the level of a first-rated warrior who can lift 10,000 jin. Now he has revealed such an amazing Qinggong. Tung Yunlong looked at the distant sky and said, Since Qingshan wants to kill the young master and the White Horse Battalion, I believe that he will definitely be able to do it. The people in the central room all quieted down. In these years, Tung Qingshan was indeed omnipotent. There was nothing that could baffle Tung Qingshan. They looked at the sky outside and silently hoped in their hearts. At this moment, the only thing they could do was to hope. Originally, the sun was shining brightly, but as the clouds covered the sky and the earth suddenly darkened, and gusts of wind whistled. The heavens were indeed fickle. Using the crossing worlds, Tung Qingshan quickly saw the silhouettes of the White Horse Battalion. He immediately stopped using the crossing worlds and simply relied on the speed of his powerful body to follow them. With Tung Qingshan's monstrous body, his speed was much faster than a horse's, so he could easily follow them. Crossing Worlds was the top Qinggong's secret manual in Tung Qingshan's previous life. This Crossing Worlds was mainly divided into 3 levels. At the highest level, one could achieve the effect of so close, yet so far. However, up until now, Tung Qingshan could only use the first level, because the second and third levels could only be used after reaching the Xiantian realm. After all, the level of so close, yet worlds apart had very harsh requirements. Crossing Worlds had a total of 3 footwork diagrams and 6 meridian diagrams. On the first level, he only needed to practice the most basic footwork diagram. Of course, with Tung Qingshan's tyrannical body that was shockingly strong, just the speed that his body gave him was already extremely fast. Coupled with the secret manual of Qinggong, his speed was even more shocking. Rumble, dark clouds covered the sky, and the sound of thunder began to resound. Tung Qingshan was like a wisp of green smoke, maintaining the same speed as a galloping steed. He followed the group of people from the White Horse Battalion from afar, and a murderous glint flashed in his eyes as he looked into the distance. Hong Zhenjie, I didn't expect that the one who was killed yesterday wasn't you, and that you were able to escape this calamity. But you actually delivered yourself to my door, and you even want to shout you? There is no door to hell, and you barged in yourself. You're courting death, and you can't blame others. This group of people from the White Horse Battalion has countless blood on their hands. Today I will kill them all. Tung Qingshan's speed suddenly increased, and he directly scuttled into the Great Yin Mountain to the side. In the Great Yin Mountain, Tung Qingshan was like a mountain ghost, and his speed suddenly soared. A group of mounted gangsters from the White Horse Battalion dashed on the road beside the Great Yin Mountain, while Tung Qingshan ran side by side with this group of mounted gangsters in the Great Yin Mountain. They're about 5 to 6 li away from my Tongjia village. If they were to mix with the several thousand men of the White Horse Gang, then it would be troublesome. It's time to act. Tung Qingshan was very clear that he could annihilate this group of people from the White Horse Battalion. But if they were to mix with the 5,000 to 6,000 men of the White Horse Gang, even if these 5,000 to 6,000 men just stood there and let you kill them, killing one person per second would take nearly 2 hours. Moreover, they wouldn't just stand there and let you kill them. Moreover, it would take 2 hours for a group of people to escape. Therefore, when faced with a sea of people, no matter how powerful an expert was, he could only capture and kill the leader. Boom! The sound of thunder suddenly resounded in the sky, and immediately after, there was a torrential downpour. The torrential downpour came extremely quickly. In a time of a few breaths, rain poured down from the heavens and the earth, madly pouring down. The heavens and the earth suddenly became a vast expanse of water. Excluding the 12 who just joined, there are 146 people. One by one, Tung Qingshan randomly grabbed some stones from the mountainous area. Stones were the cheapest hidden weapons. In the hands of an expert like Tung Qingshan, who possessed endless strength, vigorous inner strength, and also knew how to use hidden weapons, every stone was equivalent to an armor-piercing bullet. Even an expert like Master Hong Si, using his ultimate skill, could barely protect his vital parts with a saber. However, the weapon in his hand was still bounced off by a stone. The strength of these stones could be imagined. More than 100 riders galloped. Mother of Asterisker, what kind of damned weather is this? Riding at the very front, Hong Jinjie couldn't help but squint his eyes because a large amount of rain was madly smashing down. Hitting his face was still very painful. The weather changes so quickly. Xiao Dao, is there any place to take shelter from the rain? The cavalryman beside him hastily said, Young master, take shelter from the rain? There are only some mountain villages. About 3 li ahead, there is a village. We can go there to take shelter from the rain. However, young master, third master, is leading a large group of people and horses. They shouldn't be much faster than us. I estimate that they're only about 20 to 30 li away. How about we run a little longer and rest when we reach third master's side? That's fine. We will run there in one breath. Hong Jinjie replied. The horses' hooves trampled, splashing muddy water. The more than 100 riders lowered their heads and madly ran. The violent wind raged, and the torrential rain was blown up. The withered branches and withered leaves on the mountain were also blown down, causing the sky to darken. Xiao! A deep and sharp sound rang out. A ray of light shot out from the mountain and penetrated the head of a White Horse Battalion mounted bandit who was running at the back. A bloody hole appeared in the forehead of this mounted bandit who was wearing a helmet. Fresh blood gushed out, but the face of this mounted bandit was instantly washed by the torrential rain. This mounted bandit's eyes widened, and then his entire body softened. He leaned backwards and fell off his horse. This corpse rolled on the ground, splashing muddy water. In a violent storm, who among these mounted bandits would turn their head to look back? Moreover, the sound of a mounted bandit rolling on the ground could not be heard in the torrential rain. Xiao! Another stone was thrown to the ground. Another hole appeared on the head of another mounted bandit. Fresh blood mixed with brain matter gushed out, and another corpse fell off his horse. Each stone took away the lives of mounted bandits one after another. Hey, Sanzi, let me make a deal with you. You run faster first. As he spoke, this mounted bandit turned his head to take a glance and roared, Didn't you hear what I told you? This mounted bandit's eyes suddenly widened. On the muddy ground far behind him, there was a corpse every 3 to 4 zhong. The corpses lying in the mud caused his face to instantly turn pale. There was actually not a single living person behind him. Young master! A mournful voice streaked across the sky. A hole also appeared on his forehead. All the mounted bandits were alarmed. Everyone turned their heads to look, only to see the mounted bandit who shouted also powerlessly fall off his horse and roll into the mud. Stop! Hong Jinjie roared. Everyone pulled the reins and stopped their horses. More than 100 people gathered together in panic. Young master, it's a concealed weapon, a concealed weapon. They were all shot in the head by a concealed weapon. A mounted bandit hastily shouted. At this moment, another stone was shot from the great yin mountain to the side. Pong! It directly shot through the head of a mounted bandit who was beside Hong Jinjie. Pierced through in one hit. That mounted bandit couldn't even speak. He could only widen his eyes in fear as he rolled to the ground. Immediately, the mounted bandits were panicking. Puchi! The blood that shot out from the head of the dead mounted bandit splashed onto the face of the young master, Hong Jinjie. Hong Jinjie's entire body trembled and his heart quivered. He hastily looked towards the great Yin mountain and thought to himself, "It was too fast. I couldn't even react to that concealed weapon. If this concealed weapon didn't hit Xiao Dao's head, but my head instead, wouldn't I be dead?" Hong Jinjie's heart began to fear. He didn't want to die. He still had a lot of money and women to enjoy. How could he be willing to die? "Young master, we are just going to be his targets." A mounted bandit shouted. "Let's run." "Yes, we." Hong Jinjie clenched his teeth and was about to give the order. Pooh! The stone penetrated the head of the mounted bandit who spoke. Seeing this scene, Hong Jinjie's heart violently trembled. Immediately, some mounted bandits collapsed. "Let's run." 3 mounted bandits didn't care about the young master and immediately flew away. Pooh! 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 The 3 stones were like 3 lightning bolts that penetrated the heads of the 3 bandits. The 3 of them fell to the ground with a loud bang. In the great Yin mountain, Tung Qingshan was half squatting on the ground like a statue. His eyes were staring into the distance. Each of his hands was holding a stone. There were 2 piles of stones on the ground. Tung Qingshan could easily pick up the stones on the ground. With Tung Qingshan's hand speed, how could these people escape? Escape! Tung Qingshan, who had been half squatting and motionless, slightly moved his left and right hands. 2 stones streaked across the sky and touched the ground. 2 more stones appeared in Tung Qingshan's hands, and he quickly shot out another stone. At this moment, Tung Qingshan was equivalent to a heavy sniper rifle that could shoot 2 or 3 shots per second. The 3 corpses rolled on the ground. It was as if Hong Jinjie's heart had been ruthlessly smashed 3 times. Hong Jinjie looked at the great Yin mountain and shouted while suppressing his fear, "I know you. You're the one who caused the death of my father and killed my martial brother, right? Tell me, what do you want in order to let us go? Everything can be discussed." His senior martial brother had been killed by a stone. Master Hong Si risked his life to be a stone, which was why Wang Taizhan seized the opportunity to kill him. "The Iron Mountain Gang is here for revenge." A mounted bandit shouted in fear. "It's the Iron Mountain Gang." The great master's weapon was destroyed by this hidden weapon. Waves of panicked voices resounded from the group of mounted bandits. An invisible enemy was too terrifying. Hong Jinjie's face was drenched in rainwater, but he could feel cold sweat dripping down his face. He looked at the great Yin mountain in front of him, and the fear in his heart made his mind a little chaotic. Chapter 73. If we don't run, we will die. Everyone, together, a mounted gangster shouted. Pooh! His head was shot, and he fell from his horse. The mounted gangster beside him had his helmet pierced. Hong Jinjie, who was already afraid, couldn't help but tremble when he saw this scene. His heart twitched, and his legs became weak. He had been under the protection of Master Hong Si all these years. When did Hong Jinjie, the young master, fight against a truly powerful expert? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? I can't die, I can't die. Hong Jinjie felt that he couldn't breathe. He wiped the rainwater off his face and stared at the great Yin mountain with his teeth clenched. He never thought that the great Yin mountain could make him feel fear. He didn't know when another hidden weapon would be shot from the great Yin mountain. Fear. Not only was Hong Jinjie afraid, but the other mounted gangsters were also on the verge of collapse. If we don't run, we will die. A fearful voice sounded, and 7 mounted gangsters immediately fled. Pooh! Pooh! 7 stones streaked across the sky. Within a breath's time, the 7 mounted gangsters didn't even run 5 zhong before they fell from their horses. Don't run. Running means death. A mounted gangster immediately shouted. Indeed, all the mounted gangsters who ran, and even those who shouted run, were all killed. Each of the mounted gangsters fearfully stayed where they were. No one dared to run anymore. Running meant death. What should we do? What should we do, young master? He will kill us all, young master. Everyone placed their hopes on this young master. This young master, who was known as the second expert of the White Horse Gang. All of you shut up, Hong Jinjie angrily shouted. Being strong didn't mean that one's mental fortitude was good. Even his martial brother, who was almost as strong as him, was killed without any resistance. Even Master Hong Si, who was much stronger than him, lost his weapon. Hong Jinjie clearly knew that he couldn't escape this fatal hidden weapon. Don't be noisy. Young master is thinking of a solution. A mounted gangster loudly shouted. Suddenly, a mounted gangster jumped off his horse and hid behind it. At the same time, he shouted, "Everyone get off your horses and use the cyan bristle horses to block. That way, the Iron Mountain Gang won't be able to kill us." Following their example, a large number of mounted gangsters quickly dismounted and hid behind their horses, not daring to show their heads. It's better now. Hong Jinjie breathed a sigh of relief. Hidden weapon expert? My cyan, mane treading on snow horse, has strong bones and 2 layers of heavy armor to protect it. No matter how powerful that expert is, it is impossible for him to shoot through the treading snow horse's body and then kill me. Not only did Hong Jinjie think this way, but the other mounted bandits also thought the same way. In the Great Yin Mountain, Tung Qingshan saw this scene and couldn't help but sneer coldly. They think that horses don't know fear? Tung Qingshan was very clear that if he used his full strength after the stone pierced through the warhorse, he would be able to kill the horse gang behind the warhorse. But that was too much of a burden on the wrist. Tung Qingshan grabbed a handful of stones in each of his hands. The horses have run away. Let's see what you guys can do. Tung Qingshan threw 2 handfuls of stones towards the direction of the mounted gangsters. Young master, what do you think we should do now? The group of mounted gangsters hid behind the warhorses and began to discuss. Hong Jinjie was in a safe environment, so he could think normally. At this moment, a nearby mounted gangster shouted, "Young master, of the 12 people that we just recruited, none of them died. They don't have the protection of heavy armor. It should be easier for that expert of the Iron Mountain Gang to kill them than for me to kill us." The group of mounted gangsters all noticed this phenomenon. Not a single one of them died, but we've lost 43 brothers. A mounted gangster shouted. Although these 12 people also wanted to join the White Horse Battalion, they hadn't really interacted with each other. The other mounted gangsters also didn't have much brotherly feelings towards them. "Young master, does that expert of the Iron Mountain Gang only kill us who destroy the Iron Mountain Gang and not kill them?" A mounted gangster asked. "Yes." Hong Jinjie coldly glanced at the 12 people and agreed with this statement. At this moment, Xiao, 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 a large number of stones were crazily thrown out from the Great Yin Mountain. Each stone directly pierced through the heavy armor of the horses and shot into their bodies. There were also 2 unlucky war horses that had their heads pierced by the stones. The neighing of the horses resounded. The horses' hooves kicked furiously. The pain of having their bodies pierced by the stones caused the war horses to madly gallop. The mounted gangsters couldn't catch them at all. There were even a few mounted gangsters who grabbed the reins and were dragged to the ground by the war horses. Xiao, Xiao, Xiao. Another 3 stones were thrown. 3 mounted gangsters were dragged away by the war horses, had their heads pierced through. They died on the spot, and fresh blood flowed out. After hiding behind the horse and feeling safe, Hong Jinjie heaved a sigh of relief. However, he discovered that the war horses beside him were galloping away. Hong Jinjie was so anxious that he actually grabbed a corpse on the ground and used it to block in front of him. They had just seen hope, but now the war horses had run away. Their hope was shattered, and this made the mounted gangsters even more afraid. Many mounted gangsters imitated Hong Jinjie and grabbed the corpse to block in front of them. "Young master, let's fight our way to the mountain." "You idiot! Do you know where that person is on a mountain? We were all killed before we could even reach the mountain. All of you shut up. The frightened Hong Jinjie suddenly shouted angrily. The mounted gangsters all shut up. At this moment, let's run. That expert from the Iron Mountain gang won't kill us. A strong man holding a long spear immediately ran. He was one of the 12 people that the White Horse Battalion had just recruited. Immediately, the other 11 people, who were still frightened, also ran. Stop them, Hong Jinjie shouted angrily. Want to escape? There were also mounted gangsters in the surroundings, and they kicked the running man to the ground. Of the 12 people, only 8 managed to escape. The other 4 were intercepted. Indeed, Tung Qingshan didn't kill those 8 people. Young master, I beg you to let me go. I still have a wife and a child. A strong man knelt down and kowtowed. I, your father, am suffering here, and you want to escape safely? The young master Hong Jinjie was very aggrieved. The few of you, unless I, your father, leave this place alive, none of you should even think about leaving. Forcing them to die with him? Bastard. The 4 people who were intercepted gnashed their teeth, and their hearts were filled with extreme hatred. However, around them, there was a mounted gangster with a long spear pressed against their throats, making them unable to move. Pooh, 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 pooh. For consecutive sounds rang out, and the head of the mounted gangster guarding the 4 people was pierced. The 4 people watched in shock as the mounted gangster beside them suddenly collapsed, but they were immediately overjoyed. Following the first person's escape, the other 3 also spread their legs and recklessly ran. Let's also run. 2 mounted gangsters actually followed the 4 people and ran. 2 stones streaked across the sky, and with 2 trails of blood, 2 bodies suddenly collapsed. Running meant death. If he didn't escape, he would only be waiting for death. Under the torrential rain, these 90 mounted gangsters were about to go crazy. Brothers, let's kill together and kill that guy. A mounted gangster grabbed a corpse to block his way and frantically shouted. However, with a PU sound, a stone brushed past the corpse and pierced through his throat. This mounted gangster also died. You, what do you want in order to let us go? A mounted gangster collapsed and frantically shouted towards the Great Yin Mountain. The young master Hong Jinjie's mental fortitude couldn't compare to most of the mounted gangsters. If I stay here, I will definitely die. I will definitely die. I can't escape. I can't escape. Hong Jinjie's entire body trembled, and his eyes reddened. Hong Jinjie faced the Great Yin Mountain and shouted himself hoarse. What do you want? What do you want? Tell me. I will give you everything. I will give you everything. However, there were still crazy mounted gangsters. Iron Mountain gang bastards. Even if I die, my 8,000 brothers of the White Horse Gang will avenge me. A sturdy mounted gangster fiercely roared. Shut up. Hong Jinjie suddenly turned his head and roared at the mounted gangster. The mounted gangster blankly stared at him and immediately became angry. Young master, at worst, we will just die. What are you afraid of? You shut up. Hong Jinjie slapped the mounted gangster and flipped him over. Ha! This is the young master of the White Horse Gang. Ha! A deep and resounding voice suddenly reverberated between heaven and earth. Even the sound of the torrential rain couldn't cover it. All of the mounted gangsters immediately quieted down. This voice belonged to the concealed weapons expert hidden in the mountain. Yes, I am the young master of the White Horse Gang. Hong Jinjie hastily said, Tell me, how will you let me go? Just tell me. You will definitely die today. The deep and resounding voice resounded between heaven and earth. Hong Jinjie's complexion instantly paled. No. However, the other mounted gangsters may not necessarily die. The voice continued to resound. Many of the other mounted gangsters were overjoyed. As long as you can kill this young master, Hong Jinjie, I will spare your lives. If you help Hong Jinjie, you will definitely die. The voice resounded between heaven and earth, causing the mounted gangsters to panic. Kill the young master? Who in a White Horse Gang would dare to kill the young master? However, at this moment of life and death, many mounted gangsters looked at each other. What do you want? Hong Jinjie was startled and angry. Brothers, a mounted gangster roared. At worst, we will just die. Do you think that the bastard from the Iron Mountain gang will let you go so easily? Brothers, there is no second path today. Kill this Hong Jinjie. If this Hong Jinjie doesn't die, we will die. Immediately, a mounted gangster roared. Immediately, more than half of the mounted gangsters wielded their long spears and charged towards Hong Jinjie. However, there was still a portion of mounted gangsters who had been trained by Master Hong Si since childhood. They were absolutely loyal and frantically protected Hong Jinjie, and in turn, killed these traitors. Immediately, chaos ensued. Life after life was lost in the midst of killing each other. Fresh blood flowed on the ground. Under the washing of the torrential rain, the surrounding area was dyed red. You want to kill me? Go die. Hong Jinjie was worthy of being called the second expert of the White Horse Gang. He continuously killed more than 10 mounted gangsters that charged towards him. At this moment, there were only 20 to 30 mounted gangsters still alive. It seems that I still have to act. The deep and resounding voice resounded. Pooh, 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 pooh. A large number of stones streaked across the sky. One by one, the mounted gangsters were killed, including those that attacked Hong Jinjie. In just a moment, only the young master, Hong Jinjie, was left alive among the mounted gangsters. Hong Jinjie grasped his long saber and looked around. The ground was littered with corpses. Of the 146 mounted gangsters, he was the only one left. Hong Jinjie suddenly widened his eyes and roared towards the great Yin Mountain. It's you. You purposely let us kill each other so that you would waste less energy, am I right? At this moment, Hong Jinjie finally understood. You're so smart. The originally deep and resounding voice suddenly became so familiar. This voice, where have I heard it before? Hong Jinjie frowned. He saw a figure jump down from the great Yin Mountain and land on the muddy ground, walking towards Hong Jinjie. Hong Jinjie withstood the torrential rain and carefully looked at this person. He really wanted to see who was this terrifying concealed weapon expert that was like a nightmare. Otherwise, even if he died, he wouldn't be satisfied. It's you. Hong Jinjie widened his eyes in shock. Tung Qingshan was unarmed and walked towards Hong Jinjie step by step. It's you who killed my martial brother. It's you who caused the death of my father. So it's you, Tung Qingshan? Hong Jinjie's eyes were filled with fear as he couldn't help but retreat. End of 3rd chapter. Tomato asks everyone to subscribe for the first VIP chapter. It's almost 10,000 subscribers. At the same time, Tomato also asks for monthly votes. Divine Armaments are very crazy in soliciting votes. However, Tomato believes in the strength of his brothers. Let's all work hard and rush to first place. Isn't it just 1 or 200 votes? How many votes a person can get depends on his brothers. Chapter 74. The torrential rain made Hong Jinjie's entire body drenched. His entire body was ice cold, but at this moment his heart was even colder. Tung Qingshan, you are a magnanimous person. Please let me go. Hong Jinjie swallowed his saliva and anxiously said while retreating, I will divorce my wife and marry your sister. Your sister will be my White Horse Gang's first madam. I will give up the position of first master to you. I beg you, please spare me. Hong Jinjie knelt down with a thud. Tung Qingshan looked down at Hong Jinjie, who was kowtowing on the ground and begging for mercy. I beg. Hong Jinjie's mouth was still talking, but suddenly, a cold light suddenly lit up and pierced towards Tung Qingshan's chest. Go to hell. Hong Jinjie's face turned red as if he had gone crazy. In fact, when Tung Qingshan appeared, Hong Jinjie understood that Tung Qingshan would not spare his life because he already knew the murderer's true identity. If the opponent did not appear, Hong Jinjie would still have a chance to save his life. Therefore, Hong Jinjie begged for mercy in order to make Tung Qingshan relax his vigilance and display his strongest attack. He must kill Tung Qingshan. If not Tung Qingshan's death, then Hong Jinjia's death would be his. Clang! Tung Qingshan's right hand clamped the long saber with 2 fingers and coldly looked at Hong Jinjia. Hong Jinjia's little tricks were child's play to Tung Qingshan, who had experienced the training of a modern super assassin. What Tung Qingshan wanted to do was to watch the opponent struggle and destroy the opponent's hope again and again until the opponent collapsed and fell into despair. Hong Jinjia's complexion changed. He pulled 2 or 3 times but was unable to move it. Ridiculous! Tung Qingshan's right hand moved, and the long saber that was clamped by him slashed across Hong Jinjia's neck. Pooh! Blood sprayed out like a mist. Hong Jinjia's eyes widened as if he could not believe that he had died like this. He wanted to say something, but quickly fell to the ground powerlessly, and his eyes dimmed. After killing Hong Jinjia, Tung Qingshan's heart did not fluctuate at all. Tung Qingshan walked to the corpses and checked them one by one, just in case someone was still alive. After checking all 146 corpses, Tung Qingshan left quietly in the storm. In the central room of Tung Qingshan's house in Tung Jia village, Tung Yunlong, Tung Yongfan, his wife, and Tung Qingyu were all waiting anxiously. Will something happen to Qingshan? Yuanlan was very worried. Just be quiet for a while. Stop talking here. Qingshan will be fine. Tung Yongfan scolded. It was rare for Tung Yongfan to scold Yuanlan, but this time it was clear that Tung Yongfan was very worried. Stop talking. Chief Tung Yunlong frowned and shouted. Qingyu sat quietly in the corner of the wall. She didn't make a sound and only stared outside. Whoosh! A gust of wind suddenly blew in the central room, and a figure appeared in the central room. Father, mother. The tall and familiar figure caused the 4 people in the central room to stand up in surprise. Qingyu, who was sitting in the corner, immediately rushed into Tung Qingshan's arms and hugged Tung Qingshan. She buried her face in Tung Qingshan's chest and cried. I knew brother would come back safely. Brother, she cried as she spoke. Little you, don't you see that brother isn't injured at all? Don't cry. Tung Qingshan smiled and patted Qingyu's head twice. Qingyu also liked Tung Qingshan's habitual action. She sobbed a few times and stopped crying. Qingshan, are you all right? Mother Yuanlan also looked around Tung Qingshan. Why are you still asking? Didn't Qingshan say that he was all right? Tung Yongfan shouted. At the same time, his gaze was carefully observing Tung Qingshan's body. Tung Qingshan felt the concern in his relative's eyes and words. He felt warmth in his heart and silently said, no matter what, I won't allow others to hurt them. If someone threatened his family, Tung Qingshan would kill them by any means necessary. It was fine if he didn't make a move, but if he did, he would definitely kill them all and not leave any future troubles. Qingshan, the White Horse Camp. Grandfather Tung Yunlong said, there is no White Horse Camp. Tung Qingshan sat down and said. The people in the central room were startled. Qingshan, Tung Yongfan was shocked. You mean the people of the White Horse Camp? They are all dead. Tung Qingshan said calmly. Not a single one was left. Tung Yunlong also didn't dare to believe it. Tung Qingshan nodded and admitted. Tung Yongfan and Tung Yunlong looked at each other, unable to conceal their shock. Although they already knew that Tung Qingshan went to kill the young master and the people of the White Horse Camp, when they heard that the East City's White Horse Gang's most elite troops, the White Horse Camp, were all killed, they still felt shocked. Qingshan, the White Horse Camp was killed by you. Then, does the White Horse Gang know? Tung Yunlong asked. After all, the White Horse Gang had 8,000 core disciples. Although they lost a portion of their disciples to the Iron Mountain Gang, they still had a large number of people. Moreover, the White Horse Gang still had many minions. What could Tung Qingshan do by himself if the thousands of men were to charge over majestically? Grandfather, don't worry. As long as you don't say anything, no one will know. Tung Qingshan said confidently. Tung Yunlong looked at Tung Yongfan, Yuanlan, and Qingyu and said, you must remember, this matter cannot be spread. Yes, even if you beat me to death, I won't say anything. Qingyu nodded. Don't worry, no one will suspect me. In a few days, you will know. Tung Shan was very confident. This time, he let the other 12 men go. First, the 12 men didn't have many wronged souls in their hands. Second, Tung Shan wanted to borrow their mouths to spread the news in East City. After all, except for Hong Jinjia, the other mounted gangsters, including the 12 men, all thought that the Iron Mountain Gang's concealed weapons experts came to take revenge. The rainstorm came and went quickly. In less than half an hour, the rain stopped. The White Horse Gang's majestic army of thousands of people began to pack their bags and armor, preparing to set off. Behind the White Horse Gang's large group was a large manor. The clansmen in the manor looked at the White Horse Gang's troops in fear. On the road, there was a wooden chair, and the third master, who was draped in an animal skin robe, sat there. Still not here. The third master frowned. Third master, the young master is leading the White Horse Battalion to recruit new people. I reckon that he is hiding from the rain outside. A mounted gangster beside him said. The third master said, the rain has stopped. We have waited for a while, so Jinjia and the others should have arrived. The mounted gangster thought for a moment. Third master, how about I bring some brothers to take a look? The third master nodded and waved his hand, saying, yes, you take a dozen men and go back along the road. Go and find out where the young master and the others are. Yes, third master. The mounted gangster immediately waved his hand and called the dozen mounted gangsters. Then, he rode his horse and galloped away. Many mounted gangsters of the White Horse Gang had already mounted their horses. Some of the mounted gangsters began to set off towards their lair. Third master, from far away, a mournful cry sounded. The third master, who was quietly waiting on the chair, couldn't help but change his complexion when he heard the mournful cry. He suddenly stood up and roared. What are you howling for? What happened? Dead. The young master is dead. The entire White Horse Battalion is dead. The mournful cry from far away caused a large group of mounted gangsters of the White Horse Gang, who were originally bustling and preparing to leave, to suddenly stop. All the mounted gangsters quieted down and turned their heads to look at the dozen or so mounted gangsters who were shouting loudly. The dozen or so mounted gangsters all had a frightened expression. They hastily shouted, all of them are dead. Not a single one is alive. The third master's complexion greatly changed. Brothers, follow me. The third master madly roared. He directly jumped onto the Scarlet Flame horse at the side and whipped the horse. Hiya! The Scarlet Flame horse madly galloped forward. Go! A large group of mounted gangsters followed behind the third master and galloped forward. The White Horse Battalion is dead. The mounted gangsters who received this news were completely stunned. Soon after, each and every one of them hastily roared and galloped forward together with the third master. The momentum of the galloping army of thousands of men and horses frightened the clansmen of the nearby village. Did you hear that? The young master of the White Horse Gang and the White Horse Battalion are all dead. Who killed them? Who knows? But look, everyone in the White Horse Gang seems to have gone crazy. Who can stop this magnificent army of thousands of men and horses? Looking at the majestic galloping of mounted gangsters, like a crazed flood, this momentum really made people tremble with fear. The majestic troops of the White Horse Gang quickly arrived at the location of the large number of corpses. Nay, pulling the reins, the war horses stopped one by one. The third master jumped down from the Scarlet Flame horse and galloped towards the corpses. Mud splashed everywhere. The mounted gangsters of the White Horse Battalion were all wearing heavy armor, but not a single one of them was alive. The large number of mounted gangsters behind were all stunned. The third master's complexion was also very unsightly. He roared, "Quickly, see if there's anyone still breathing." Saying this, the third master quickly went to check the corpses one by one. Soon, the third master found the corpse of the young master, Hong Jinjia. Hong Jinjia's eyes were still wide open, and he died with a remaining grievance. Third master, the people of the White Horse Battalion are killing each other. A mounted gangster fearfully yelled. Indeed, Some of the mounted gangsters still had a spear pierced through their throats. It was a group of mounted gangsters that were killing each other. Their heads were pierced through, and even their helmets were pierced through. These are all. All of them were pierced through by hidden weapons. A mounted gangster yelled. The third master's face was calm, and he didn't say a word. It's the Iron Mountain Gang's hidden weapon expert. It's the hidden weapon expert that sent the great master's weapon flying. He came to take revenge. A mounted gangster said, Third master, we have to take revenge for the young master. Third master. The surrounding mounted gangster leaders all looked at the third master. After the young master died, the third master had the highest position in the White Horse Gang. It's a hidden weapon. Wang He, my martial nephew, and my big brother all died because of that hidden weapon. The third master's voice was low. More than half of the people of the White Horse Battalion were killed by that hidden weapon. As for killing each other, that was just a fake scene created by the murderer to make us have wild suspicions. This murderer is the Iron Mountain Gang's hidden weapon expert that killed Wang He and indirectly killed my big brother. I reckon that Wang Taizhan is also involved. The surrounding mounted gangsters all agreed with this statement. Third master, what do you think we should do? The mounted gangster leaders all looked at the third master. The third master coldly said, No matter what, we have to first find that Iron Mountain Gang's hidden weapon expert. Once we find him, our White Horse Gang will dismember his body into 10,000 pieces at all costs. We will offer sacrifice to the souls of my big brother and Jinjia. Dismember his body into 10,000 pieces. The mounted gangster leaders all roared. The third master's face contained a murderous aura, but he was secretly delighted in his heart. Ha! The heavens are helping me. This Hong Jinjie is a reckless boy, and he still wants to be the great master? Yesterday, Hong Jinjie escaped a calamity, but I didn't expect that he would die today. Haha, from now on, I'm the great master of the White Horse Gang. Revenge? That hidden weapon expert was able to kill the entire White Horse Battalion. Isn't going to take revenge just asking for trouble? Although his mouth was shouting about revenge, the third master didn't think so. What did the revenge of Master Hong Si and Hong Jinjie have to do with him? In the White Horse Gang, the third master, who was the most low-key and the most hardworking, was actually an extremely sinister and ruthless person. However, Master Hong Si was still alive, so he didn't dare to do anything. Master Hong Si died yesterday. Even if Hong Jinjie didn't die today, the third master would still find an opportunity to kill Hong Jinjie in the future. From now on, East City is my world. Chapter 75. The next day, the sun was high up in the sky, and the training field of Tungjia village was very lively. Hurry up, hurry up! 3 wagons pulled by horses entered Tungjia village one after another. These wagons were filled with all kinds of iron and other materials. The materials that Tungjia village needed to forge 200 pieces of heavy armor had finally arrived. Qingshan, haha, your Tungjia village's business is not small. These iron and other materials weigh more than 10,000 jin. I brought 3 large wagons to transport the goods. The one who spoke, Depeng, was wearing a large yellow robe and had a big belly. He walked over and greeted loudly with a smile. Uncle Lier, our business is small. It can't be compared to your trading company. Tung Qingshan also said with a smile. Lier held a jade pipe and took 2 puffs. He smiled and said, Yes, Qingshan, I'm going to find your grandfather. You go ahead. Lier also knew of Tung Qingshan's position in Tungjia village. He also heard that Tung Qingshan was strong, so he specially came to greet him. Qingshan, the materials have arrived. The clan can start forging heavy armor. Tung Qinghu, who was beside him, was slightly excited. Yes, with 200 pieces of heavy armor, the men who have cultivated inner strength in Tungjia village will be able to fight against dozens of bandits. If they're used well, the effect will be even greater. Tung Qingshan was very clear that although the clansmen had cultivated inner strength, their bodies were not invulnerable to swords and spears. Even if they cultivated inner strength, they could at most kill a few people before being killed by the other bandits. However, once they had heavy armor, they would not be afraid of ordinary people's swords and sabers. Then, they would be able to truly display the attacking power of an inner strength expert. Soon, the people from the trading company left Tongjia village with the money. At noon, some women who were busy working in the fields came back. Some women entered the village and shouted. Many people who liked to watch the fun went up to hear what was going on. Because the surrounding fields were connected to other villages, the most informed people were these women. The young master of the White Horse Gang, as well as the White Horse Battalion, were all killed. The women chattered one by one. What? Some of the men who were practicing the tiger fist or spear art originally disdained to listen to these words, but now they ran over. It's true. That young master and the entire White Horse Battalion are all dead. They were killed by the Iron Mountain Gang's concealed weapons experts. How did you know? Is this news really true? Didn't the White Horse Gang come here yesterday to recruit people into the White Horse Battalion? Just yesterday. At that time, there were people from Greatly Village who were recruited. These words were said by the man from Greatly Village. The concealed weapons expert of the Iron Mountain Gang would take revenge, but he would not kill the innocent. I didn't kill all 12 of them. Immediately, more clansmen rushed over. Qingshan, the young master, and the White Horse Battalion were all killed by someone. Let's go and listen. Tung Qinghu couldn't help but be surprised and ran over. Tung Qingshan watched this scene with a smile. The mountain men were simple and honest. The 12 men definitely had a stomach full of resentment towards the White Horse Gang, but they were grateful towards the Iron Mountain Gang's concealed weapons expert. They were lucky enough to keep their lives. When they returned to their respective villages, they would naturally talk about this matter. This kind of explosive news spread at an astonishing speed. It's good that they died. That concealed weapons expert was really powerful. The concealed weapons couldn't even be seen, but the White Horse Battalion's mounted gangster's head was shot through. One by one, the clansmen sighed. Tung Qingshan relaxed. He smiled and turned around. Let's go home for lunch. The White Horse Battalion and the young master were killed by the Iron Mountain Gang's concealed weapons expert. This was already a fact in East City, and no one doubted it. Even the White Horse Gang offered a reward. Whoever could capture this concealed weapons expert would be rewarded with 10,000 silver taels. This reward from the White Horse Gang confirmed that the Iron Mountain Gang's concealed weapons expert was the murderer. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. During the cold winter, heavy snow swirled in the air. In the central room of Tung Qinghu's house, the two brothers, Tung Qingshan and Tung Qinghu, sat opposite each other and drank wine. TSK, TSK, TSK. Qingshan, I didn't expect this. That Wang Taizhan, such a powerful expert, actually died in the hands of the White Horse Gang's Master Lu San. Tung Qinghu sighed. In the past, this Master Lu San came to my Tongjia village to collect annual tribute many times, but I didn't realize that he was such a powerful person. A dog that bites doesn't bark. A truly ruthless person can't be seen from the outside. Tung Qingshan drank a mouthful of wine and said, the White Horse Gang's current Great Master was the former Third Master, surnamed Lu. As for his real name, only a few people knew. Because he was previously the Third Master, the outside world called him Master Lu San. This Master Lu San not only didn't lower the White Horse Gang's position in half a year, but it became even more stable. The White Horse Gang once again claimed to have 8,000 disciples. There were also people who said that the White Horse Gang's true members already exceeded 10,000. Of course, the White Horse Gang claimed to have 8,000 disciples. This Master Lu San is the best at using crafty plots and schemes. A few months ago, wasn't the Baldy Head Gang also very insolent? However, in the blink of an eye, the Baldy Head Gang's great master died on a woman's belly. Tung Qinghu continued. As for the Willow Water Gang, many people in East City thought that they would join forces with the Baldy Head Gang to destroy the White Horse Gang. Who would have thought that the Willow Water Gang would actually change sides and surrender to the White Horse Gang? Even that Wang Taizhan was shot to death by 10,000 arrows. Tung Qingshan only smiled after hearing this. I always thought that Wang Taizhan would ruthlessly retaliate against the White Horse Gang. Who would have thought that his little life would be over? Tung Qinghu shook his head and sighed. Tung Qingshan smiled and said, "Cousin, actually, when that Master Lu Sen only brought a small number of people to our Tongjia village and exempted our Tongjia village's annual tribute and called me brother, I knew that East City would still belong to him in the end." Tung Qingshan also admired this Master Lu San. This was because Master Lu San understood the weaknesses of human nature very well. In the past half a year, the prosperous Baldy Head Gang and Willow Water Gang were defeated from the inside. None of them required a large number of people to kill. That Master Lu San is tactful. Otherwise, if he brought people to our Tongjia village, we would kill as many as he came. Tung Qinghu smiled confidently. Now that you mention it, I think of the guy known as the #1 expert in East City. Tung Qingshan also smiled. Actually, in the past half a year of turmoil, the forces of East City's bandits went through 3 stages. The first stage was the rise of heroes. After the death of Master Hong Si, Li Yinshan, who was known as the #1 expert in East City, established the Yinshan Gang and quickly rose to power. At that time, it became the only gang that could contend against the White Horse Gang. Many people thought highly of the Yinshan Gang. In the second stage, the Yinshan Gang was destroyed, and the Baldy Head Gang and Willow Water Gang rose together, becoming extremely powerful. The forces of bandits in East City could be said to be 3 legs of a tripod. In the third stage, the White Horse Gang subdued the Baldy Head Gang and Willow Water Gang. Once again, the White Horse Gang became the sole power, and no one dared to challenge their position. Among these 3 stages, the Yin Mountain Gang at the beginning had the most hope. Li Yinshan was indeed an expert. He collected the annual tribute, but who would have thought that Tongjia village would not pay a single copper coin? This great master was furious. He immediately led nearly 3,000 men to Tongjia village, wanting to destroy the Tongjia village, which was widely known for its bravery, in order to deter the other villages. The great master even claimed to be the #1 expert in East City, and even Wang Taizhan admitted defeat. When he killed his way to Tongjia village, he saw many clansmen wearing heavy armor. Instead of being shocked, he was happy and laughed out loud. "Ha! You've sent me, Li Yinshan, heavy armor." Immediately after, he smashed open the gate of Tongjia village with his wolf-tooth mace. At the same time, behind him were 100 heavy armored mounted gangsters. There were also nearly 3,000 ordinary mounted gangsters. Who would have thought? When the real battle began, a terrifying scene occurred. The heavy armored mounted gangsters under Li Yinshan's command were only chosen to have strong bodies. As for the Tongjia village clansmen wearing heavy armor, they were all experts with inner strength. Long spears infused with inner strength stabbed out, directly piercing through the bodies of the bandits who were wearing ordinary heavy armor. The 50 clansmen wearing superior heavy armor were like meat grinders. They were not afraid of ordinary swords and easily killed a large number of mounted gangsters. Behind them, there were other clansmen wearing ordinary heavy armor assisting them. In addition, the gate was only so wide, so the number of mounted gangsters that could rush in was limited. There were also a large number of spikes on the ground, so the war horses could not gallop, so they could only fight on the ground. It was one-sided. The great Yin Mountain, who was known as the #1 expert of East City, was anxious. He actually wanted to single-handedly kill the 50 inner strength experts of Tongjia village. Just as he was about to make a move, Tung Qingshan made his move. Tung Qingshan used facts to tell Li Yinshan that he, Li Yinshan, was not the #1 expert of East City. Li Yinshan died. The morale of the mounted gangsters was low, but the madness in the bones of the mounted gangsters made them want to retaliate. However, the heavy armored clansmen of Tongjia village, led by clansmen with inner strength, slaughtered hundreds of mounted gangsters. The remaining mounted gangsters fled in fear. In this battle, Tongjia village killed nearly 1,000 mounted gangsters. They also seized 100 heavy armors, making Tongjia village even more heavy armors. After this battle, Tongjia village became even more famous, and no mounted gangsters dared to collect the annual tribute. Master Lu San of the White Horse Gang even personally went to Tongjia village 3 days after the incident. He permanently exempted Tongjia village from the annual tribute and called Tung Qingshan brother. This Master Lu San has a sense of propriety. He knows who he can offend and who he can't. Tung Qingshan said with a smile. Master Lu San had the intention to befriend Tung Qingshan. When Master Lu San unified the bandit forces in East City, Tung Qingshan had also secretly attacked twice. Just these 2 times, the strength he displayed had already made Master Lu San fearful. Master Lu San knew who he couldn't offend. Yes, but Qingshan, now that the East City bandit forces are settled, we should leave the village. Tung Qinghu suddenly felt a bit sad. Yes, it's time to go. Tung Qingshan sighed. 3 days later, in the morning, more than 2,000 people of Tongjia village gathered at the training field. Tung Qingshan and Tung Qinghu led hundreds of strong men of the village to practice the tiger fist once again. Hundreds of people practicing the tiger fist together looked very imposing. Mother Yuanlan and Sister Little Yu watched this scene with tears in their eyes. Because today, Tung Qingshan and Tung Qinghu were leaving Tongjia village to join the Gui Yuan sect. After a long time, Tung Qingshan and Tung Qinghu each carried a bag. Their weapons were also disassembled and placed in the bag as the over 2,000 clansmen saw them off. Brother, Tung Qingyu hugged Tung Qingshan, unwilling to see her brother leave. Yuan Lan, who was at the side, couldn't help but cry. Tung Yongfan, who was at the side, patted his son's shoulder and said, "A man's ambition is to travel far. Qingshan is leaving to make a name for himself. Don't cry." Although Tung Yongfan said this, his own eyes were red. Little Yu, brother will come back to see you and father and mother in the future. Tung Qingshan lovingly patted Qingyu's head. Brother, you must come back to see me, Qingyu said with tears flowing down her face. Tung Qingshan nodded solemnly. Father, mother, take care. Tung Qingshan squeezed out a smile. We know. You also have to take care of yourself. Tung Yongfan and Yuan Lan were very reluctant to part. Tung Qingshan was reluctant to part with his family. Tung Qinghu was also reluctant to part with his family. Everyone, don't send us off. Tung Qinghu's eyes were red as he waved his hand. Under the blessings of the clansmen, Tung Qingshan and Tung Qinghu finally carried their bags and left Tongjia village, embarking on their journey. P.S. 2 chapters completed. The second chapter of the story of the 9 cauldrons, the Tung family has a son named Qingshan, ended. The third chapter of the story of the 9 cauldrons, the commander of the Black Armored Corps, began. Chapter 76. The sky was as blue and clear as a fine porcelain plate. There were a few white clouds floating in the sky that were as white and soft as silk. The breeze blew, bringing with it a trace of the smell of blood. Ha! Qingshan, these bandits are purely here to give us money. Qinghu laughed as he searched the corpses of the bandits on the ground. There were a total of 18 corpses around the road. The eyes of these corpses were either filled with horror or madness. At this moment, all of them were covered with blood and fell to the ground. These 18 bandits were a part of the bandit group that had just robbed and killed Tung Qingshan and Tung Qinghu. After Tung Qingshan and Tung Qinghu joined hands to kill so many bandits, and after they slaughtered the bandit leader, the other bandits were so scared that they scattered in all directions. We didn't ride horses, and we were only carrying backpacks. It seems like we didn't bring any weapons. If those bandits didn't rob us, who would they rob? Tung Qingshan laughed as he searched the corpses for gold and silver. Qingshan, you don't say. Searching for bandit silver is really satisfying. Qinghu laughed and said, You're still the smart one. At first, I planned to travel as fast as possible and reach Jiangning County City in one day. If we were to travel like that, we probably wouldn't be able to get any silver. The city wasn't far from Jiangning County City. Jiangning County City was to the east of East City. When Tung Qingshan and the others set off, they didn't need to go around the Great Yin Mountain. They only needed to travel along the main road, which was about 300 li away. Tung Qingshan and Tung Qinghu could reach this distance in one day. The Gui Yuan sect only accepts disciples in hot summer and cold winter. One is on the 12th of June, and the other is on the 6th of the 12th lunar month. Tung Qingshan stood up and counted the silver as he said, "We left on the morning of the 3rd day of the 12th lunar month. What's the rush? Otherwise, when we reach Jiangning County City, it would be a waste of money to stay in an inn." "Listen to you, Qingshan." "That's right." Qinghu counted the silver pieces in his hand and said proudly, "Qingshan, I have about 20 silver pieces here. What about you?" "That bandit leader should have a lot of silver, right?" "Yes, the bandit leader has the most silver. He has 3 silver ingots in his arms, and the rest of the minions have broken silver. I have more than 60 taels of silver in total." Tung Qingshan smiled and put the silver into the bag on his back. On the way, there were bandits who tried to rob and kill them. Killing the bandits and robbing them was also a very interesting thing. Tung Qinghu was not tired of it. "Haha, Qingshan, we've been eating, drinking, and having fun along the way for almost 3 days. I didn't spend any of the money I brought, and I even earned more than 300 taels." On the morning of the 3rd day of the 12th lunar month, the two left Tung Jia village. Today was the 5th day of the 12th lunar month. Tung Qingshan and Bai Xiaochun had been wandering on the road for 3 days. They had eaten and drunk a lot. Roaming the world like this is really fun. Eating meat, drinking wine, and earning a lot of silver. I really want to play for a few more days, Qinghu said with a smile. Although he said that he understood that with his little strength, he would be finished if he encountered a powerful bandit. Tung Qingshan looked at him and said, "Tomorrow, the Gui Yuan sect will start to recruit people. If you miss it, you'll have to wait for another 6 months. Cousin, I'm not in a hurry to wait for half a year. If you really want to play, I'll accompany you. What do you think?" "I'm just saying," Qinghu laughed. "Compared to playing, joining the Black Armored Corps is more honorable. Let's go. We'll arrive at Jiangning County City as soon as possible. We've never been here before, so we should take a good look," Tung Qingshan said with a smile. Immediately, the two brothers carried their bags and walked eastward. In the evening, the sun was setting, and the western sky was covered with a large sunset glow. It was very beautiful. Two travel-worn young men carrying bags walked side by side. Occasionally, there would be people riding horses galloping past them. "Qingshan, we've arrived at Jiangning County City," Qinghu cheered excitedly. Tung Qingshan looked at the ancient city in the distance. The city walls of Jiangning County City extended towards the north and south, and the end couldn't be seen. In this world, in the land of the 9 prefectures, there aren't many cities bigger than this county city. Tung Qingshan had some basic knowledge about the land of the 9 prefectures. The world was divided into 9 prefectures, and the biggest cities in each prefecture were the county cities. Of course, there were still cities bigger than the county cities, too. One was the royal city established by Emperor Yu when he unified the world, Yu City. The other was the royal city established by the heavenly emperor of Qin Mountains in the northwest of Yongzhou when he unified the world, Qin Imperial City. Yu City and Qin Imperial City were both the royal cities of the land of the 9 prefectures, so it wasn't strange that they occupied a large area. Other than these 2 royal cities, the other county cities were almost the same. For example, Jiangning County City was about 20 to 30 li long and wide, and the population of the county city was about 1 million. Different county cities would have some differences. Jiangning County City was the center of Jiangning County, and it was also close to the East Sea. The Yuyang Grand Canal passed through the city, and the city's commerce was extremely developed. Naturally, Jiangning County City was very fertile. In ancient times, it was very difficult to build a city that could accommodate 1 million people by relying on manpower alone. Tung Shan still remembered that in the ancient history of China, the largest city could only accommodate 1 million people. Even in the ancient history of China, there were very few super large cities like the one in front of him. In the world that Tung Shan was living in, there were many county cities that could accommodate 1 million people in the land of the 9 prefectures. Legend has it that Yu City can accommodate 5 million people, and Qin Imperial City can accommodate 8 million people. These 2 royal cities don't have skyscrapers, and the population density is low. The area they occupy is even bigger than Shanghai and Beijing in my previous life. This is really inconceivable. Tung Shan was looking forward to the day when he would be able to see these 2 historical royal cities. While Tung Shan was thinking, he and Qinghu arrived at the city gate. There are so many people. Why are there so many people going out of the city? Qinghu exclaimed as he looked at the bustling crowd. There are people carrying loads, people pushing carts, and the majority of them were peddlers. These peddlers come to the county city to do business during the day and go home at night. It will take some time to rush back. After Tung Shan and Tung Qinghu paid the entrance fee, they finally stepped into the legendary Jiangning County City. The moment the 2 of them entered Jiangning County City, they were shocked. What a wide street! Tung Shan looked at the spacious street in front of him that was completely paved with neatly arranged bluestones. He was a bit shocked. This street can accommodate over 10 horses running side by side. It is at least 30 meters wide. Even some of the modern streets in his previous life weren't this wide. Shan, they say that the most prosperous street in Jiangning County is this street, right? Qinghu's eyes lit up. Right now, there's still many peddler stalls on both sides of the street. Let's go, let's have a good stroll. Qinghu was like a country bumpkin entering the county city, and his eyes were dazzled. As for Tung Shan, he was only occasionally surprised. After all, compared to the international metropolises in his previous life that had a population of over 10 million, this county city was far from it. However, the layout of this county city was magnificent, and it was built purely by manpower. This kind of grandeur, simplicity, and atmosphere made Tung Shan really like it. Tung Shan and Tung Qinghu were holding roasted meat in their hands and leisurely strolled around. The county city is really different. The fun and good food are much better than our city. Qinghu was very carefree. Soon after, he raised his head and saw a 3-story restaurant in the distance. This restaurant was completely made of wood, and there were exquisite carvings on the outer walls. With one look, one could tell that it was a top-notch, luxurious restaurant. On the front door of the restaurant, there was a gold-plated signboard with 3 words written in flamboyant calligraphy, Canvassing Moon Restaurant. Shan, let's go in and eat once. How about it? Qinghu's eyes lit up. Tung Shan also knew that this kind of restaurant was very expensive. Normally, a small tavern would cost around half a tael of silver for a meal, but this restaurant was much more expensive. However, during the 3 days they were on the road, they had obtained several hundred taels of silver from the bandits. Okay, let's go take a look and see what the restaurants in this county city are like. As soon as they stepped into the first floor of the restaurant, a waiter immediately came up to greet them. Dear customers, the 2nd and 3rd floors of our Canvassing Moon restaurant are already full. There are only 2 tables left on the 1st floor. Which one would you like to choose? The waiter said enthusiastically. Tung Shan's gaze swept across and casually said, "The table by the window. Your business is really good." Qinghu exclaimed in admiration, then sat down with Tung Shan. The waiter immediately handed over a menu that had been written on it. "It really isn't just ordinarily expensive," Qinghu exclaimed in a low voice, then laughed. "However, it's really strong." The waiter said enthusiastically at the side, "Our Canvassing Moon restaurant is famous for having 12 flavors of blue-coiled fruits and 28 plates of wine. These 12 flavors of blue-coiled fruits and 28 plates of our Canvassing Moon restaurant's signature dishes to go with wine are all on the menu. Dear customers, you can take a look for yourselves. Looking at the 2 of you, you are also forthright men who like big meat and good wine. Our Canvassing Moon restaurant also has 3 thread meat strips stir-fried pork loin. We can take a look for ourselves. Tung Ching Shan said hastily. This waiter was extraordinarily fluent in naming dishes. Tung Ching Shan and Ching Hu were willing to spend the money they got from the bandits. In one breath, they ordered 8 dishes, 6 of which were meat dishes. They also ordered 2 bottles of good wine. After a rough calculation, they found that they had spent almost 20 taels of silver. If it was an ordinary villager, he would only earn this much in a year. The taste is really not bad. Tung Ching Shan couldn't help but nod as he ate the delicacies. Tung Chinghu nodded repeatedly as he ate. Yes, yes. The meat is not bad and delicious. The wine is also pure and strong enough. Although the dishes of the Canvassing Moon restaurant were expensive, the taste was indeed extraordinary. Ching Shan, look, those who enter this restaurant are either rich or noble. TSK, TSK. Tung Chinghu said with a smile. Yes. Tung Ching Shan nodded with a smile. Just as the two of them were eating happily, a voice came from outside. What, it's full. A dissatisfied voice sounded. Today, I specially invited my brother to your Canvassing Moon restaurant. There are no private rooms on the 3rd floor, and the ordinary seats on the 1st and 2nd floors. Sir, it's full. The waiter wasn't annoyed at all. A white-robed nobleman stood at the entrance of the 1st floor. He looked inside casually, and his gaze stopped on Tung Ching Shan and Chinghu. After all, one's strength and status could be determined from the way he dressed and his temperament. These 2 brats, one of them has his back to me, and I can't see him clearly. But the other one is boisterous and beaming with joy. It's obvious that he hasn't seen such a big scene before. Tung Ching Shan and Tung Chinghu didn't pay attention to the conversation at the entrance. The 2 of them ate and drank to their heart's content. They even looked at the night scenery outside through the window and chatted casually. Sir, the waiter suddenly ran to the side of Tung Ching Shan and Chinghu. Tung Ching Shan raised his head. Sir, I hope that the 2 of you can give table to them. The price of your dishes will be covered by that, sir, the waiter said. I don't know if the 2 of you can agree to this. Chinghu raised his head and glared at the waiter while eating the meat in his mouth. He then sneered and glanced at the nobleman outside. Covered by him? Mother asterisk cur. It's easy to let us leave. Give us 1,000 taels of silver, and we 2 brothers will leave immediately. If he's stingy and can't bear to part with us, you could just tell him to get lost. Tung Ching Shan held up his wine cup and drank a mouthful. He watched the development of the situation with a smile. Chapter 77. There were a total of 4 people at the entrance of the restaurant. The noble young master and a strong man with a stocky build and dressed in a green robe stood side by side. Behind them were 2 guards with swords and sabers. Hearing Tung Chinghu's words, the noble young master's face darkened. This was obviously not giving him face. You 2 should quit while you're ahead. The noble young master said in a deep voice, otherwise humph. Tung Ching Shan and Tung Chinghu didn't pay any attention to him. The waiter lowered his voice and persuaded 2 guests that young master is the 2nd young master of the Wang family in the eastern city. He is also a disciple of the Gui Yuan sect. He is fine, but the one next to him is the centurion of the city guards of our Jiangning County, Master Li. He can send you 2 to prison with just a word. The centurion of the city guards? Tung Chinghu and Tung Ching Shan looked at each other. Tung Ching Shan laughed. He sat calmly on his seat and laughed. Haha, rich young master? Bullshit, rich young master. Pay for a table of dishes and then let us go. There are so many guests in the Canvas Luna restaurant. If I told you that I would pay for the dishes and ask you to give up your table, who would be willing? No one would be willing. That so-called 2nd young master of the Wang family can't even bear to pay 1,000 taels of silver. He is still pretending to be a rich young master. Ha! Since he didn't need to worry about his clan, what was there for Tung Ching Shan to be afraid of? Except for the rare, innate experts, no one in the acquired realm could make Tung Ching Shan afraid. Ha! The whole restaurant was filled with laughter. Those who dined here were either rich or noble, so they were happy to watch the show. The noble young master and the strong man's face darkened. It seems that you don't give me face. The noble young master's face darkened, and he shouted, "Take them down." The two guards behind him immediately stepped forward. Guests. The waiter was also anxious. Mother asterisk cur, what's with the noise? So what if you're rich? A thunderous roar resounded in the canvas lunar restaurant. Bang, 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 bang. Messy footsteps could be heard as a large group of people walked down the stairs. Tung Ching Shan and Tung Ching Hu also turned their heads to look at the staircase. This group of people were all dressed in black, and the leader was a big man who looked like a black bear standing upright. He had stubble on his face, and his eyes were like copper bells. He was extremely muscular, and the sleeves of his black robe had two golden edges. As these people walked down the stairs, the atmosphere on the first floor seemed to freeze. I hate people who bully others the most. All of you get lost. The bearded man roared. The two guards turned to look at the noble young master, as if they wanted to consult their young master's opinion. The bearded man's face darkened, and he moved, like a bolt of lightning. He instantly arrived in front of the two guards and swung his arm. Bang! His right arm directly sent the two strong guards flying, and they fell heavily on the street in the distance, knocking down a few pedestrians. My words are useless now. The bearded man glared. An expert. Tung Ching Shan's eyes lit up. No matter what, at least this bearded man's qigong was not bad. Brother Xia, the centurion of the city guards who had been silent, also quickly said, I didn't expect you to be here too. I'm really sorry for disturbing Brother Xia's drinking mood. Let's go and have a few drinks, how about it? Take it as me apologizing to Brother Xia on behalf of second young master Wang. The noble young master of the side was so scared that he didn't dare to say anything. Oh, I was wondering who that kid was relying on. So it's you. I don't have time to drink with you. Get lost. The bearded man scolded. Then the bearded man turned to look at Tung Ching Shan and Tung Ching Hu and laughed. I, old Xia, admire people with backbone the most. You two not bad. You don't have to give face to these two guys. If they dare to bully you, just ask someone to send a message to the Black Armor Corps and find me, old Xia. I'll help you settle it. As he spoke, the bearded man picked up a piece of meat from Tung Ching Shan's table and threw it into his mouth. TSK, it tastes good. I, old Xia, will help you. It's okay to eat a piece of meat, right? The bearded man laughed. My brother also despises people who bully others. You can eat as much as you want. Tung Ching Shan said with a smile. The bearded man smiled and touched his nose. He looked at Tung Ching Shan and said, You're an interesting kid. Well, remember, my name is Xia Shuo. Go to the Black Armor Corps and find me. You'll definitely find me. Then he shouted, Okay, brothers, let's go. Then the large group of men walked out of the restaurant. Let's go. The centurion of the city guards looked a little ugly. He left with the noble young master in a sorry state. There was a sudden uproar in the restaurant. Tung Ching Hu's eyes lit up. He looked enviously at the fierce man called Xia Shuo leading a group of people away. He turned back to look at Tung Ching Shan and said, Ching Shan, that Xia Shuo is really impressive. The centurion of the city guards didn't even dare to fart when he was scolded. Awesome. That's the Black Armored Corps, after all. Tung Ching Shan said with a smile. The city guards were only responsible for managing the civilians. The Black Armored Corps was what the sects relied on to fight against each other. Tomorrow is the Gui Yuan sect's recruitment day. Tomorrow, I'll send my son to the Gui Yuan sect. Some guests in the Canvas Lunar restaurant immediately began to talk. Spending some money to enter is just an opportunity. It also depends on whether he can cultivate inner strength or not. If he can't, he'll be kicked out of the sect. Even if he can cultivate inner strength, he needs perseverance and understanding. Otherwise, he'll be like the second young master of the Wang family. He's just bullying ordinary people. If he meets a real master, he won't dare to speak. Listening to the discussion of the guests in the restaurant, Tung Ching Shan and Tung Ching Hu paid the bill and left the restaurant. That night, Tung Ching Shan and Tung Ching Shan stayed in an inn. Because they were going to enter the Gui Yuan sect tomorrow, Ching Hu was very excited. He talked with Tung Ching Shan until late at night. The next day, in the morning. On the first floor of the inn, Tung Ching Shan and Tung Ching Shan ordered some meat buns and 2 bowls of porridge and ate. Ching Shan, yesterday, in order to find an inn in the Gui Yuan sect, we went to 14 hotels before we found an empty room. It seems that there are many people who want to join the Gui Yuan sect this time. Qinghu was a little excited. There are many. Tung Ching Shan glanced around. The people eating breakfast on the first floor of the inn were all armed. One look, and he could tell that they were martial artists. They probably wanted to join the Gui Yuan sect's Black Armor Corps. Dong, 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 dong. Many people walked down from the first floor of the inn. There were a total of 8 people. These 8 people were all very strong. The one in the lead had a cold expression, and there were 2 saber scars on his face. He carried a 6-foot-long broadsword on his back and walked down. The people behind him also held weapons, and their gazes were cold and gloomy. Tung Ching Shan could smell the faint smell of blood. These 8 people ate very quickly. They ate the meat buns in 1 bite. They ate later than Tung Ching Shan, but they finished their food faster. Let's go. The leader was the first to stand up. The other 7 people followed him. Qinghu, let's go to the Gui Yuan sect. Tung Ching Shan also stood up. When he went downstairs, he ordered breakfast and paid the bill. Tung Ching Shan and Qinghu followed the group of people and left. People tended to gather in groups. The other cultivators in the inn also stood up one by one and left the inn. The Gui Yuan sect was located in the southeast area of Jiangning County. It could be said to be a city within a city, because the Gui Yuan sect and the Black Armor Corps were recruiting disciples on the same day. This caused a large number of horses and luxurious carriages outside the main entrance of the Gui Yuan sect. It could be said that there was an endless stream of horses and carriages. Those who gathered here were either rich people or powerful martial artists. All of them were entering the Gui Yuan sect. If you want to join the Black Armor Corps, walk this way to take the entrance examination. A large number of disciples in the Gui Yuan sect were in charge of receiving guests. If you want to send your children to join the Gui Yuan sect, please walk the other way. Entrance examination. Tung Ching Shan and Tung Qinghu followed the crowd and walked towards the Gui Yuan sect. I wonder what the entrance examination is. Tung Qinghu muttered, "Just go to the front and see." Tung Ching Shan smiled. After walking along the bluestone paved road for a while, they arrived at a spacious area. There were already over 100 people gathered in this spacious area. They were all here to participate in the Black Armored Army's assessment, and almost all of them were men. Although it was almost, there were still a few women. If you want to join the Black Armored Corps, come here one by one according to the order. Begin the examination. A deep voice sounded. Tung Ching Shan and the rest immediately approached the center of the field. In the center of the field, there were 4 big black stones of different sizes. On the stones, there were white words written with a brush. They were 500 Jin, 500 Jin, 2,000 Jin, and 10,000 Jin. If you can lift 500 Jin, you can become an outer disciple of the Gui Yuan sect. If you can lift 500 Jin, you can become a new recruit of the Black Armored Corps. After going through another round of selection within the Black Armored Army, only the sergeants of the Black Armored Army remained. If you can lift 2,000 Jin, you can become a second-rated martial artist. If you can lift 10,000 Jin, you can become a corporal of the Black Armored Corps. If you can lift 10,000 Jin, you can become a first-rated martial artist. You can become a centurion of the Black Armored Corps. At that moment, the martial artists who were familiar with each other started discussing quietly. I didn't expect the requirements to become a new recruit of the Black Armored Corps. If you can lift 500 Jin, you can become a new recruit. And you have to go through an internal selection. Many people were discussing. Tung Qinghu, on the other hand, was secretly relieved. Ever since Tung Qinghu started practicing the Tiger Fist, he could already lift a boulder weighing 2,000 caddies. I didn't expect the entrance examination to be like this. Tung Ching Shan said with a faint smile. A large group of people formed a circle and entered the circle one by one to begin the examination. Tung Ching Shan was also queuing up at the back, and at the same time, He was also watching the others take the examination. Hey! A strong man angrily snorted and lifted the 500 gene boulder. Do you want to lift the others? A disciple of the Gui Yuan sect who was sitting at the side and writing with a brush asked indifferently. The man shook his head and said honestly, I can't lift 500 gene. Well, this is your sign. Go to the side and wait. Another disciple of the Gui Yuan sect threw a sign to the man. Haha, let me do it. A stout and strong man with a fat head and big ears threw the big iron hammer in his hand to the side. The big iron hammer hit the ground with a loud bang. Then he walked towards the 10,000 gene boulder with his big belly and grabbed it with one hand. The fat man exerted his strength, and the ground shook violently. The man lifted the 10,000 gene rock up to his neck, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't lift it anymore. The fat man panted a few times and roared angrily, but to no avail. He could only put down the rock with a loud bang. Just a little bit more. Unfortunately, you are a second-rated martial artist. The disciple of the Gui Yuan sect who was writing said, Your name, age, Judah, 26. The fat man picked up the big iron hammer and snorted twice. He was still mumbling, Damn, I lifted it at home. Why can't I lift it? Chapter 78. Amazing. This Judah, one of the positions of sergeant in the Black Armor Corps, is going to be his. The surrounding warriors exclaimed. This was because he was the only warrior who dared to challenge the 10,000 gene boulder since the beginning of the sect entrance examination and almost succeeded. The 10,000 gene boulder was several times bigger than a human body. Many people lost their courage when they saw it. Brother, give me the second-rated warrior plate. The disciple of the Gui Yuan sect took a black plate from a fellow disciple beside him. There was only one word on the front of the plate, second-rated. The disciple of the Gui Yuan sect wrote, Judah, on the back of the plate. He smiled and threw the plate to Judah. Brother Judah, you have almost the strength of a first-rated warrior. Although you can't compete for the position of a centurion, you have full confidence in the position of sergeant in the Black Armored Corps. I ate 10 steamers of buns this morning and my stomach is bloated. Otherwise, I would definitely be able to lift it. The fat man picked up his big hammer, took the plate, and walked to the side. Qingshan, I'm going to compete for the position of sergeant in the Black Armored Corps. If I meet this fat man, I will immediately admit defeat. I can't even take a hit from this guy. Tang Qinghu said to Tang Qingshan, Oh, right, Qingshan, when are we going to lift the boulder for the sect entrance examination? I am not in a hurry. You can go if you want to. Tang Qingshan stood in the crowd and watched the entrance examinations one by one. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. Move aside, let me do it. With a loud shout, the lean young man, who was still wrapped in animal skin, strode into the center of the open space and went straight to the 2,000 gene boulder. Stretching out his arms, his steel-like arms clamped onto the black boulder. His hands held the bottom of the boulder firmly. The words 2,000 gene, written on the black boulder in white, were very eye-catching. Ha! With a low shout, the lean young man's body slightly shook and the black boulder was lifted with a loud bang. Good! What a man! Immediately, the crowd cheered. The young man in animal skin smiled and threw the black rock to the side. Do you still want to lift 10,000 gene? The disciple who was responsible for writing the records of the Gui Yuan sect asked smilingly. No. The young man shook his head. Name and age. The disciple of the Gui Yuan sect took a second-rated warrior token from the side. Fu Junfan, 16. The young man said, 16? A second-rate martial artist at the age of 16? This young man has a bright future. Where did this kid come from? He's so powerful. The surrounding group of martial artists was shocked. Most of those who joined the Black Armored Corps were over 20 years old. Generally, the stronger ones were older. Tung Qingshan also glanced at the young man named Fu Junfan in surprise. 16 years old? Isn't that a little younger than me? There were still a few days before the yearly sacrifice. After the yearly sacrifice, Tung Qinghan would be 17 years old. Fu Junfan, the person in charge of the entrance examination, was a middle-aged man in a gray robe with a sturdy build. He had been silently watching the entrance examination. Fu Junfan, who was only 16 years old, also attracted his attention. This Fu Junfan is the third second-rated martial artist. There is not a single first-rated warrior. Big brother, there are not many experts who joined the Black Armor Corps this time. It's only been an hour. Don't worry, the experts haven't come out yet. A cold voice came from not far away from Tung Qingshan. Tung Qingshan glanced at the voice. The one who spoke was a skinny man with 2 scars on his face. He carried a huge saber on his back. Tung Qingshan saw this man, and his heart skipped a beat. It's him. Tung Qingshan had met this man when he was having breakfast at the inn. He remembered that there were 7 other people with this skinny man. From their tone, this scarred man should be an extremely powerful warrior. Tung Qingshan judged. The entrance examination was carried out in an orderly manner. As time passed, more and more people came to watch. Haha, I'll do it! With a loud shout, Tung Qinghu stepped into the central area. Tung Qingshan's eyes lit up. Green Tiger lifting 2,000 Jin should not be a problem. Tung Qingshan was very clear that even if he did not use inner strength, Tung Qinghu, who had achieved some success in the Tiger Fist, could lift 2,000 Jin with brute force. If he used inner strength, he could lift up to 3,000 to 4,000 Jin. Without any hesitation, Tung Qinghu carried the 2,000 Jin boulder with both hands. Up, he shouted. Tung Qinghu's muscular arms bulged with blue veins as he lifted the 2,000 Jin boulder high into the air. He put it down casually. Pung! The 2,000 Jin boulder landed heavily on the ground. Ha! Don't ask. I can't lift that 10,000 Jin boulder. Tung Qinghu laughed heartily and said straightforwardly. His straightforward temperament also caused the surrounding martial artists to laugh out of goodwill. A man with strength and a straightforward temper would not be hated by others. The Gui Yuan sect disciple also laughed. Your name and age? Tung Qinghu. I'm 22 this year. After the yearly sacrifice, I'll be 23. Tung Qinghu said directly. After the yearly sacrifice, everyone will be 1 year older. There's no need to mention it. The Gui Yuan sect disciple said with a smile and wrote Tung Qinghu's name on the plate. After receiving the second-rated warrior plate, Tung Qinghu walked to Tung Qingshan's side and said, Qingshan, look at this plate. There's nothing special about it. It's just black ink with a few words written with a brush. Just as Tung Qingshan looked at the plate, a familiar voice suddenly sounded. Move. Tung Qingshan turned his head and saw the scarred man squeezing through the 2 warriors in front of him and walked to the center of the open space. Who pushed the old? One of the 2 warriors who was pushed away was immediately enraged. He was about to curse, but when he saw the huge saber on the other party's back, he immediately shut his mouth and didn't dare to say another word. The saber on the scar man's back was 6 feet, 5 meters long. Ordinary people would not be able to use such a huge saber. The scar man walked straight to the center of the open space and walked towards his target, the 10,000 Jin boulder. Until now, no one could completely lift a 10,000 Jin boulder. He wants to lift 10,000 Jin. It seems that this person is also a ruthless character. The surrounding people discussed in low voices, but all of their eyes were fixed on the scarred man. The scarred man did not use the saber and directly lifted the 10,000 Jin boulder with both hands. Oof! With a sudden angry snort, a trace of green light appeared on the scarred man's face. The 10,000 Jin black boulder was directly lifted up. The scarred man's arms bulged with blue veins, and then he threw the boulder to the ground. The 10,000 Jin boulder crashed onto the ground, and half of it sank into the ground. The middle-aged man in the gray robe, who was sitting behind the other young disciples of the Gui Yuan sect, could not help but stand up and laughed. Good! A first-rated warrior. Today, the first-rated warrior of the entrance examination has appeared. Brother, what's your name and age? Gong Yangqing, 36. The scarred man said coldly. Gong Yangqing? Gong Yangqing from Shuyang County? The Gong Yangqing who killed 300 mounted gangsters in one night? The surrounding warriors were suddenly shocked. Shuyang County, the leader of Ramhorn Mountain? Why is he here? Gong Yangqing, Doesn't he have 7 sworn brothers? Now that he is here, his brothers should be here as well. The appearance of such a famous expert aroused everyone's interest. In the 9 prefectures of the world, Yangzhou had a total of 13 counties. Among them, 9 counties were controlled by Qinghu Island. 1 county was controlled by the Gui Yuan sect. 1 county was controlled by Tai Hall. The other 2 counties were a mix of sects and forces. In comparison, the people living in those 2 counties were suffering unspeakably. The people of Jiangning County were already considered very happy. Xi'an County was one of these 2 counties. The dignified leader of Ramhorn Mountain, why did he come to our Jiangning County and join the Black Armor Corps? Some warriors discussed in low voices. Qinghu also looked at the Scar Man. Hearing the surrounding people's discussion, he then said excitedly in a low voice, "Qingshan, this Gong Yanqing is a powerful person. He was once the leader of a big gang in Xi'an County. Qingshan, you have to be careful of him in this competition for the position of Centurion of the Black Armored Corps." Tung Qingshan smiled. Other than that time, when he fought with the Flood Dragon, he had never truly revealed his strength. Qinghu wasn't sure either. Centurion, Tung Qingshan only smiled as he watched the others take the entrance test. In his heart, Tung Qingshan had already reserved the position of Centurion. In the blink of an eye, 4 hours had passed. Everyone, the middle-aged man wearing a gray cloak from the Gui Yuan sect stood up and said loudly, "The entrance test in the morning will end before noon. There is still 15 minutes before noon. Those who want to take the entrance test, please hurry up. Why don't we continue in the afternoon?" Tung Qingshan turned his head and glanced at a huge stone sundial in the distance. A sundial was a simple tool to measure time. It wasn't very complicated to make. Up until now, there have been 21 second-rated warriors. Gong Yanqing is the only first-rated warrior. Tung Qingshan remembered clearly that up until now, the only ones who caught his attention were the 16-year-old Fu Jun fan, who was the same age as him, and the 8 brothers of Gong Yanqing. Gong Yanqing himself was a first-rated warrior. His 7 brothers were all second-rated warriors. He couldn't rule out the possibility that his 7 brothers were holding back their strength. "Qingshan, when will you take the entrance test? In the afternoon?" Tung Qinghu asked. "In the afternoon? In that case, don't I have to pay for my own lunch?" Tung Qingshan teased. At the same time, he also smiled as he walked towards the central open space. "Lunch? You have to pay for it?" Tung Qinghu couldn't help but be stunned. According to the rules of the Gui Yuan sect, as long as one passed the entrance test, their meals would be provided by the Gui Yuan sect for free. If he didn't take the entrance test, Tung Qingshan would have to go out and buy his own lunch. This young man is walking towards the 10,000 gene boulder. Don't tell me he also wants to lift the 10,000 gene boulder. Seeing the direction in which Tung Qingshan was walking, the surrounding group of people quickly quietened down and stared at Tung Qingshan. Even Gong Yanqing and his 7 brothers looked over as well. Both of his hands firmly grasped the 2 sides of the 10,000 gene boulder. "Up!" Tung Qingshan shouted in a low voice. "Who?" The 10,000 gene boulder was lifted high above his head without the slightest bit of effort. Subsequently, Tung Qingshan threw the 10,000 gene boulder. "Ha! Another first-rated warrior. This morning, the second first-rated warrior has appeared." The middle-aged man in gray robe laughed loudly. "May I ask for this brother's name and age?" The surrounding warriors were also in an uproar. They were all discussing who this young man was. Tung Qingshan said with a smile. 16. Chapter 79. Silence. Everyone present, including Gong Yanqing and the gray-robed middle-aged man, quietened down. Everyone looked at Tung Qingshan, speechless for a long time. It was extremely difficult to lift a 10,000 gene boulder. This had a very high requirement for an instant burst of inner strength. Those who could do this were usually called first-rated warriors, also known as the peak of the post-liminary realm. The dantian of the human body that stored inner strength was like the ocean, and the meridians were like rivers. The instant burst of inner strength from both arms It didn't depend on the density of the inner strength in the body, but on the width and toughness of the meridians. The wider and tougher the meridians were, the more inner strength could flow out in an instant, and the stronger the inner strength could be. If the meridians were too thin, just like the spout of a kettle, if the spout was too small, no matter how much water was in the kettle, it would be difficult to pour it out. The toughness and width of the meridians could only be improved through repeated practice and continuous expansion. A 16-year-old first-rated warrior. The gray-robed middle-aged man looked at Tung Shan in shock. In the past 1,000 years of our Gui Yuan sect, this kind of genius can be counted on one's fingers. This young man, named Tung Shan, is comparable to the young sovereign. 16 years old. A first-rated warrior, I was only 16 years old, and I could only lift 500 jin. This Tung Shan, where is he from? He's so strong. At this moment, the surrounding warriors started discussing. Compared to Tung Shan, the previous Gong Yanqing was a far cry from him. After all, Gong Yanqing was a famous figure, and he was already 36 years old. A 36-year-old first-rated warrior and a 16-year-old first-rated warrior. Who had more potential? Everyone present was very clear in their hearts. Tung Shan is our East City's #1 expert. East City's #1 expert is called Tung Shan. The Yinshan gang's big leader, Li Yinshan, was pierced through the throat by a spear. East City was one of the 9 great cities of Jiangning County. Tung Shan had killed Li Yinshan and was known as the #1 expert of East City. Naturally, many people in Jiangning County knew of Tung Shan's name. In the beginning, no one dared to match 16 years old with the #1 expert of East City. That was too terrifying. Tung Shan of East City? The gray-cloaked middle-aged man laughed heartily and said, "When I was in Gui Yuan sect, I heard of the name of East City's Tung Shan, but I didn't expect that Brother Tung is only 16 years old." Tung Shan took the first-rated warrior token and retreated to the side. The surrounding warriors looked at Tung Shan with awe. After all, he was a first-rated warrior. "Xiao man, what are you doing here?" The gray-robed, middle-aged man shouted. Tung Shan looked towards the center of the open space. A skinny, yellow-clothed girl stepped into the open space and said, "Martial uncle, of course I came here to join the Black Armored Corps. Master also said that practicing hard would not be able to keep up with the tempering of life and death. Therefore, I came to join the Black Armored Corps. Originally, I thought that I would be the youngest first-rated warrior today. I didn't expect that a 16-year-old first-rated warrior would appear." The yellow-clothed girl mumbled and walked towards the 10,000 gene boulder at the same time. "Rise!" The yellow-clothed girl shouted and grabbed the 10,000 gene boulder with her small white hands. Phew! The 10,000 gene boulder was lifted high as if it was made of clay. Everyone was speechless. Such a petite and babbling young girl was actually a first-rated warrior? "Xiao man, did your master agree to let you join the Black Armor Corps?" The gray-robed, middle-aged man frowned. Last time I wanted to join, but master didn't allow it. Didn't he say that one day, when I have the strength of a first-rated warrior, he would let me join the Black Armored Corps? Now that I have it, don't tell me that master, as the head of a sect, doesn't keep his words? The yellow-clothed girl glanced at the Gui Yuan sect disciple who was writing the record. "Shaolin, your senior sister is 23 this year. You don't need to say my name. Quickly give me the first-rated warrior plate." From today onwards, I won't be in the Gui Yuan sect anymore. I'm in the Black Armored Corps barracks. Senior Sister Wu Man, the plate is ready. The Gui Yuan sect disciple handed over the plate. The yellow-clothed girl held the plate in her hand and walked in front of Tung Shan. She sized him up and frowned. "I thought I was already powerful enough. I'm 23 and have reached the first-rated warrior realm. I wanted to shock these big blockheads around me. I didn't expect that you would steal all the limelight. You brat. Oh, you're called Tung Shan. You're only 16? Are you as powerful as my monstrous junior brother? That kind of monster only appears once every few hundred years in the Gui Yuan sect. Are you also such a monster? Damn it, tell me the truth. Did you hide your age on purpose?" The yellow-clothed girl kept on talking. This seemingly petite and cute girl was too long-winded. She was too talkative. "Hey, I'm talking to you." The yellow-clothed girl put her hands on her waist and glared at him. "Qinghu, let's go and have lunch." Tung Qingshan didn't talk to the yellow-clothed girl. He turned around and left with Tung Qinghu. "This brat." The yellow-clothed girl widened her eyes. "Okay, Tung Qingshan, right? I'll remember it." The yellow-clothed girl wrinkled her sparkling little nose and turned around to leave. The group of martial artists around her consciously made way for her. Although she was just a delicate little girl, she was still a little girl. Although she was just a petite girl, she was a first-rated warrior. In these big sects, both men and women could practice inner strength. It was impossible to tell the difference in strength from the appearance. The Yuyang Grand Canal connected Yuzhou to Yangzhou. It was nearly 10,000 li long and ran through half of the land of the 9 prefectures, all the way to the boundless East Sea in the east of Yangzhou. This Yuyang Grand Canal was created by Emperor Yu after he unified the world. When Emperor Yu was managing the rivers of the world, he took advantage of the situation and opened up a river. Because of this river, Yangzhou became prosperous and rich. The Yuyang Grand Canal ran through Jiangning County City. The Gui Yuan sect was located in the southeast area of Jiangning County City. The entire Gui Yuan sect had a circumference of nearly 10 li and was divided into 2 parts by the Yuyang Grand Canal. On the west side of the canal was the area of the Gui Yuan sect, where the outer disciples lived. On the east side of the canal was the core area of the Gui Yuan sect. This core area was divided into 2 parts, north and south, with the Longgang Hill as the boundary. The south side was where the inner disciples of the Gui Yuan sect cultivated. The sovereign, elders, and protectors of the Gui Yuan sect all lived there, with a population of more than 10,000. On the north side of Longgang, the Gui Yuan sect was where the barracks of the Black Armor Corps were located. The Gui Yuan sect is actually divided into 2 parts, east and west. We have to take a boat to get to the barracks of the Black Armor Corps. Tung Qinghu sighed as he stood on the deck of the boat. The sky was dark, and it was already evening. The Black Armored Army's entrance examination, which lasted for a whole day, had finally ended. Only those who could lift 1,000 jin were qualified to enter the Black Armored Army as new recruits. After the selection, only those who remained would be the real sergeants of the Black Armored Army. Those who could only lift 500 jin were not even qualified to enter the barracks of the Black Armored Corps. 363 people, 9 first-rated warriors and 38 second-rated warriors, and more than 300 third-rated warriors who could lift 1,000 jin. Tung Qingshan sighed. After half a year of recruitment, there are so many experts. The Black Armored Corps still maintains a strength of 6,000 people all year round. No wonder they are so strong. In the morning, there were indeed only 3 first-rated warriors. However, most of the experts did not rush to show up in the morning. They only showed their skills in the afternoon. Qingshan, the girl called Wu Man, is walking over. Tung Qinghu said in a low voice. Wu Man. Tung Qingshan glanced at the girl in yellow. Indeed, the girl in yellow was walking over. Come, let's go to the back deck. Tung Qingshan had a headache dealing with this girl in yellow. It was better to avoid her. You want to escape when you see me? The girl in yellow glared at him. She immediately turned her head and looked at the cold, scarred man. She smiled and walked over. Hi, Gong Yangqing. You're doing well as the first master of Goat Horn Mountain. Why did you come to my Gui Yuan sect and join the Black Armor Corps? All right, did your Goat Horn Mountain bandits disperse? If they didn't disperse, let me be the first master and have some fun. What do you think? Gong Yangqing frowned slightly and turned around. We have reached the shore. Everyone, let's go ashore. Gong Yangqing ordered his 7 brothers. On the first night, they arrived at the Black Armor Corps barracks. Tung Qingshan and the rest did not come into contact with the Black Armor Corps. This was because they could not be considered as true Black Armor Corps soldiers. Therefore, they stayed in the outermost area of the Black Armor Corps barracks. Each person had a simple house to stay for the night. The next morning, hundreds of people were scattered around the stone tables in the open air eating big bowls of porridge, large amounts of meat buns and steam buns. They could eat as much as they wanted. Cousin, today will be the Black Armored Corps' Centurion and Corporal competition. Cousin, you must be careful and remember the key points of the spear arts. Follow what I said. The most important thing is to listen. Tung Qingshan reminded. Tung Qingshan had taught the great spear stance to his clansmen when he was young. Great spear stance looked simple, but it was the best way to train in spear arts. Don't worry, Qingshan. Tung Qinghu was very confident. Dong, dong, dong. The earth trembled slightly, and the sound of trembling could be heard. Everyone, the gray-robed middle-aged man said in a clear voice, the 6,000 soldiers of the Black Armored Corps have arrived at the drill ground. Everyone, hurry over. Immediately, the 300 over people threw down their bowls and chopsticks, wiped the corners of their mouths, and walked towards the drill ground with their weapons in their hands. When they were still quite a distance away from the drill ground, Tung Qingshan and his group saw the Black Armored Corps in the drill ground. The black mass was divided into 4 large groups, and there was not the slightest noise. 6,000 people gathered together, not making a single sound. They were all dressed in black heavy armor and a thick murderous aura, as well as the stench of blood in the air. Seeing this black mass, the silent Black Armored Corps was like facing a deep, dark, and boundless ocean, making people feel suffocated. Terror. Even Tung Qingshan felt suffocated, and many of the other warriors' faces turned pale. 6,000 Black Armored Corps. Tung Qingshan took a deep breath. The moment he saw the entire Black Armored Corps, Tung Qingshan completely understood why the sex could be so high and mighty. Facing this kind of 6,000 Black Armored Corps, just this thick murderous aura that had been passed down from generation to generation was enough to make people lose the courage to resist. Chapter 80. Early in the morning, the rays of the morning sun shone on the entire drill ground. However, the 6,000 Black Armored Corps were like an ice-cold black pool, causing the entire drill ground to become chilly. The 300 people who were discussing along the way all quietened down. Under this kind of atmosphere, no one dared to speak. Tung Qingshan felt as if a rock was pressing down on his chest. He adjusted his breathing slightly and returned to normal. I'm not afraid of anyone in the Black Armored Corps. However, with 6,000 of them together, even at such a distance, their aura is able to completely suppress me. Tung Qingshan did not make a sound and followed the crowd towards the drill ground. Following the wide bluestone paved road, the 300 people entered the drill ground. Many of the 6,000 Black Armored Corps turned their heads to look at them. Their eyes were filled with confidence and provocation. To be able to become a sergeant in the Black Armored Corps was something to be proud of. A loud laughter suddenly resounded in the sky above the drill ground. Tung Qingshan looked towards the source of the laughter and saw 4 men and women wearing black robes walking side by side towards the front of the drill ground. The one who laughed was a black-robed old man. This black-robed old man had an aquiline nose, silver hair, and sharp eyes. Qingfeng, I heard that there are 9 first-rated warriors in this year's entrance examination. The black-robed, silver-haired old man said from afar. There are 8 vacant centurions in our Black Armored Corps. I wonder how many of these 9 people can get. If they can't even get one, then it will be interesting. The gray-robed, middle-aged man who had been leading Tung Qingshan's group immediately bowed slightly and said with a smile, Second Martial Uncle, among the 9 first-rated warriors this time, there are a few ruthless characters. You have to tell your centurions to be careful. The 4 black-robed people walked side by side. Other than the black-robed, silver-haired old man, there were 3 other people, 2 men and 1 woman. One of the men was 9 feet tall and had an extremely strong physique. His entire face was suffused with a metallic luster, as if it was cast from metal. The other man was nearly 8 feet tall. He looked younger and had a sharp gaze. He looked at the Black Armored Corps below him. The soldiers lowered their heads, not daring to meet his gaze. As for the only woman among the 4 black-robed men, she was the only one. Because he was wearing a black robe, his figure could not be seen clearly. However, her height was over 7 feet 175 meters, which was considered very tall among women. Her skin was fair, and her gaze was as cold as a knife, causing others to involuntarily fear her. Junior brother, our black armored corps may only be the weakest of the 8 centurions, but we're still able to defeat them. However, he is not someone that these first-rated warriors can easily defeat. The tallest man said in a loud voice, his voice echoing in his chest. At this moment, the 4 black-robed men walked to the stands above the drill ground. On the grandstand, there were 5 chairs. The 4 black-robed men scattered and sat down, leaving only the center empty. "Greetings, Commander." Suddenly, a deep voice came from the Black Armored Corps. Immediately, crash! The 6,000 Black Armored Corps knelt on one knee in unison. The sound of their heavy armor hitting against each other was very ear-piercing. The 6,000 Black Armored Corps shouted at the same time, "Greetings, Commander." However, among the 6,000 Black Armored Corps, there were a few dozen people standing at the edge who bowed slightly and did not kneel. "Rise." The one who spoke was the silver-haired old man in the black robe. The 6,000 Black Armored Corps stood up at the same time. The 4 of them. Tung Shan carefully observed the 4 black-robed men who were high up. They should be the 4 commanders of the Black Armored Corps. These are the true post-liminary realm experts. They are not comparable to ordinary first-rated warriors. Tung Shan had a hint of fighting spirit in his heart. Lifting a 10,000 gene boulder was a limit. Those who reached this limit were first-rated warriors and were known as the peak of the post-liminary realm. However, as long as one had a good inner strength manual, it was not difficult to reach the peak of the post-liminary realm after 10 years of training. As a result, there were too many peak post-liminary realm experts in this world. The 3 Wong brothers of the Iron Mountain Gang were all peak post-liminary realm experts. Master Hong, C, was also peak post-liminary realm experts. Li Yinshan, who was killed by Tung Shan, was also peak post-liminary realm experts. There were so many peak post-liminary realm experts in a small city. The 9 first-rated warriors in this year's entrance examination were all first-rated warriors. One could totally imagine how many peak post-liminary realm experts there were in this great land of the 9 prefectures. However, everyone's strength was not exactly the same because of the unique inner strength cultivation method, or people with extraordinary talent. They could instantly burst out with a strength of tens of thousands of gene. For example, Tung Shan had not reached the post-liminary realm and could only be considered a post-liminary realm expert. However, with his strength, he could easily kill a large group of first-rated warriors. In the Black Armored Corps, the highest position is the commander. I wonder how his strength compares to mine. Tung Shan did not dare to be too arrogant. After all, the history of this great land of the 9 prefectures could be traced back to thousands of years ago. The use of inner strength had reached the pinnacle. For example, the White Horse Gang's Master Hong C had once blocked Tung Shan's stone. As for the more powerful 4 great commanders, it was hard to say what methods they had. Just as Tung Shan was pondering, 3 figures walked over from afar. The 4 great commanders of the Black Armored Corps, who were sitting high up, immediately stood up and slightly bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Sovereign." "Greetings, Sovereign." The gray-robed, middle-aged man and the dozens of Black Armored Corps sergeants at the edge also bowed. "Greetings, Sovereign." The 6,000 Black Armored Corps members all knelt down on one knee. Among the 3 people, the middle-aged man, who was the leader, wore a long white robe and had a smile on his face. His skin was fair and clear, and he walked on the road as if he was floating. On both sides of him, there was a young man and a young woman. The young man wore a green silk robe, and his eyes were rolling around, as if he was thinking of some devious ideas. As for the young woman, she wore a light yellow silk robe, which fluttered in the wind. She looked like an otherworldly fairy. Her eyes were pure, without a trace of impurity, and the corners of her mouth were curled up in a faint smile. As she walked, there was a strange charm which could make people's hearts beat faster. A fairy descending to the mortal world? What a beautiful girl! Even with Tung Chingshan's temperament, his heart couldn't help but tremble when he saw the young woman. Tung Chinghu and the others were completely dumbfounded. The white-robed, middle-aged man led the young man and the young woman to sit on the chair in the center. The young woman and the young woman stood behind him. The white-robed, middle-aged man casually said a few words to the four great commanders, then turned his head to look at the black armored corps below and said with a smile, "Everyone, please rise." "Thank you, Sovereign." This person was the absolute ruler of Jiangning County, the sovereign of the Gui Yuan sect, Zhuge Yuanhong. The Black Armored Corps of the Gui Yuan sect will recruit experts from the outside world every 6 months. This time, there are 9 first-rated warriors and 38 second-rated warriors. What surprised me the most is there's a first-rated warrior who is only 16 years old. As soon as Zhuge Yuanhong said this, the Black Armored Corps below, no matter how disciplined they were, couldn't help but whisper to each other. 16 years old? How is that possible? A genius like the young sovereign? Oomph. Among the 5 people sitting on the platform, the stern young man snorted coldly, and the Black Armored Corps immediately quietened down. This Zhuge Yuanhong said with a faint smile, "Second Marshal Uncle, you will be in charge of the Centurion competition." "Yes, Sovereign." The silver-haired old man in a black robe immediately stood up, looked around, and said in a clear voice, "Our 6,000 Black Armored Corps is divided into 4 groups, and there are a total of 60 Centurions. Every 6 months, out of the 15 Centurions in each division, the 2 weakest Centurions will be removed from their posts. There are a total of 8 Centurions in the 4 groups. Now, they will compete with the 9 first-rated warriors for these 8 Centurion positions." The words of the old man in a black robe caused the 300 people to whisper to each other. Tung Qingshan finally understood the rules of the Centurion competition. The 8 weakest Centurions would compete with the 9 of them for these 8 positions. 17 people will compete for these 8 Centurion positions. The one who fails will immediately become a corporal. The old man in a black robe looked down coldly. "Niuzhan, Hong Xingyang, Xiaoshua, Sidu Ning." The old man in a black robe continuously said 8 names in one breath. "The 8 of you, bring your azure mane treading on snow horses and hematite heavy armors up here." The old man in a black robe said coldly. Immediately, 8 people walked out from the edge of the 6,000 Black Armored Corps. These 8 people each pulled a BMW, and on the BMW, there was a set of dark red heavy armors. These 8 people's faces didn't look too good. It was obvious that this was too embarrassing. "The 9 first-rated warriors, come to the front." The old man in a black robe ordered. "Let's go. Join the 8 Centurions." The middle-aged man in a gray robe urged Tung Qingshan and the others. The cold Gong Yanqing, the mischievous Wu man, Tung Qingshan carrying the reincarnation spear. The 9 first-rated warriors also walked to the front of the Black Armored Corps. They stood side by side with the other 8 Centurions. The 8 of them are the weakest among the 60 Centurions. The old man in a black robe glanced at Tung Qingshan and the others. "However, even the weakest 8. Among the 9 of you, there aren't many who can defeat them. If you want to be a Centurion of the Black Armored Corps, you must have some ability." Which first-rated warrior didn't have pride? If they didn't compete, who would admit defeat? Tung Qingshan and the others were all silent. They only glanced at the 8 Centurions beside them with a hint of fighting spirit. The method of competition is very simple. The old man in a black robe said clearly, "On the drill ground, there are 8 arenas that have been built. Niuzhan, Hong Xingyang, and the others will each be on one arena. They will temporarily be the arena masters. As for the 9 first-rated warriors, you can challenge them. If you win, you will be the arena master. If you lose, you can challenge another person. The 17 of you will each have 2 chances to challenge someone. When the challenge is over, the 8 arena masters who are still on the arena will be the 8 centurions. Remember, during the arena competition, you can't kill. Those who kill intentionally will die. The old man in a black robe said coldly. There were many experts present. It was easy to tell if someone killed intentionally or not. All right, Nyo-jean, the 8 of you get on the arena. The old man in a black robe ordered coldly. At this moment, the 8 centurions and the 9 first-rated warriors were observing each other. At the same time, they walked towards the 8 arenas. Tung Qingshan's gaze fell on the strong man who looked like a black bear in human form. Because this was someone familiar. It was the centurion of the Black Armored Corps, Xia, who had once acted righteously in the Canvas Lunar Restaurant. Brother Xia. Tung Qingshan smiled and walked over. You are. Xia suddenly stared with his eyes wide open. The day before yesterday, you are that young lad from the Canvas Lunar Restaurant. You are a first-rated warrior? Chapter 81. The 6,000 Black Armored Corps immediately spread out. Below where they were originally standing, there were 8 large arenas that were paved with black rocks. Each arena was 10 zhang wide. The Black Armored Corps sergeants were scattered around the arenas. It seems that even without me, old Xia, you could still easily beat up those 2 brats. Xia Shuo did not feel embarrassed at all. Yes, old brother, I will go up the arena first. You can come and challenge me. After saying that, Xia Shuo tapped his feet and leaped onto the arena that was several zhang away. The original 8 centurions all went up the arena. These 8 people slightly bowed towards the direction of the 4 commanders and the sovereign. Let's begin. The 9 of you can choose any one of them to challenge. The silver-haired elder in a black robe said indifferently. The other 3 commanders and the sovereign were high up and looking at the competition that was about to begin on the 8 arenas. Brother Nyo, if the few of us are chased down by them today, it will be a disgrace. Xia Shuo turned his head and smiled at the centurion Nyo-jean, who was on the arena at the side. They want to win against us, brothers? Did the blood we shed all these years go to waste? With my fist, they could forget about winning against me even if I only use one hand. Nyo-jean's body size was similar to Xia Shuo's. They were both big guys. Brother Nyo is right. Ha! The centurions on the other 6 arenas also laughed. It was obvious that these 8 centurions were full of arrogance. Who will be the first to challenge? Nyo-jean shouted. You stupid cow. Let me teach you a lesson. The first one who could not hold back her anger was the yellow-robed girl, Wu Man. Wu Man tapped her feet and landed on the arena that Nyo-jean was on. She also pulled out the long sword on her back. Tung Qingshan and the other 8 first-rated warriors were not in a hurry. After all, it was only a competition between 17 people. Looking at the strength of others was beneficial to the competition on the horse. Qingshan, do you think that girl can win? Tung Qinghu stood at the side. That girl called Wu Man? Tung Qingshan shook his head and said, I'm not sure. This Nyo-jean obviously has a lot of fighting experience. However, it was said that this Wu Man was the disciple of the Gui Yuan sect leader. Perhaps she had some special attacks. Just watch. Before the battle began, Tung Qingshan did not dare to make a decision. Ha! This kid Xiao Man, Grandmaster Zhuge Yuanhong, couldn't help but laugh at this scene. The only female commander among the 4 commanders revealed a rare smile when she saw Wu Man. At this moment, almost everyone's attention was on the arena. Nyo-jean frowned. Xiao Man, you want to challenge me? Big stupid ox, listen carefully. Your centurion position is mine. Hurry up and take out your weapon. Otherwise, it'll be too late for regrets. Wu Man held her long sword, full of confidence. If I let a little girl like you beat me, my 40 years of hard work will be in vain. Come, I'll deal with you. You're not worthy of using your weapon. Nyo-jean did not even pull out his spear from the ground. He looked at Wu Man with his empty hand. Wu Man snorted coldly. The long sword in her hand moved. Xiao? A green light cut through the sky. The tip of the long sword was already in front of Nyo-jean. Nyo-jean leaned to the side. His right hand quickly slapped the surface of the sword. Seeing that his hand was about to hit the surface of the sword, Wu Man turned the long sword. The blade of the sword was facing Niuzhan's palm. If Niuzhan's palm slapped down, his palm would be cut off. Bang! The earth shook. The rocks on the arena suddenly exploded. One of the rocks hit Wu Man's abdomen. Puff! Wu Man spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face turned pale. You're cheating. Wu Man pointed at Niuzhan angrily. It turned out that Niuzhan's slapping of the sword with his hand was fake. His real move was to secretly use his inner strength to crack the rocks on the ground. When Wu Man approached him, he used the tip of his foot to pick up a rock and threw it at Wu Man with his inner strength. Niuzhan laughed and said, Xiao Man, I wanted to be ruthless just now. I used a bit more inner strength. You're dead. This is a real fight. Your swordsmanship doesn't mean you'll win. All right, Xiao Man, you've lost. Sect leader Zhuge Yuanhong said from the spectator stand. Stupid Niu. Wu Man wiped the corner of her mouth and angrily got off the arena. Tung Qingshan also laughed. The centurions of the Black Armored Corps had experienced many life and death battles. They were very experienced. Under the protection of the sect leader, what kind of hardship could Wu Man endure? Even if her swordsmanship was powerful and her inner strength was strong, she would still be defeated in an instant in a real fight. Wu Man got off the arena and walked towards Tung Qingshan. Huh? Tung Qingshan frowned. Senior sister Wu Man. A gentle and beautiful voice came from behind Tung Qingshan. Tung Qingshan turned his head and saw a beautiful girl wearing a light yellow gauze dress and a young man dressed in black walking towards him. The one who spoke just now was the beautiful girl. The young man dressed in black laughed and said, Senior sister, didn't you say you wanted to fight for the position of centurion for us to see? You've lost so quickly. Haha, your azure lightning sword technique is very powerful, but you're too stupid. You fell for it so easily. Damn Xiao Yun. Wu Man gritted her teeth. Also, Qing, you're also accompanying your brother to bully your senior sister, right? The beautiful girl couldn't help but laugh softly. Tung Qingshan noticed the scene. His cousin, Tung Qinghu, was staring at the beautiful girl without blinking. Not only Tung Qinghu, but many people in the surroundings were also looking at the beautiful girl. This girl is naturally seductive. As an assassin in his previous life, Tung Qingshan had gone through psychological training. It was very difficult to seduce him. As for Tung Qinghu and other simple guys, they were easily seduced. Senior sister Wu Man, you said that there's a 16-year-old first-rated warrior called Tung Qingshan. Where is he? The young man dressed in black asked. Look, isn't this him? Wu Man pointed at Tung Qingshan. The eyes of the young man dressed in black lit up. He walked over and smiled. Brother Tung, my name is Zhuge Yun. I've heard of your name since yesterday. This is my sister, Zhuge Qing. The girl beside Tung Qingshan carefully sized him up and smiled. My name is Zhuge Qing, so you're Tung Qingshan, a genius like my brother. How could he compare to Xiao Yun? Wu Man said, he's just a little more vigorous. Xiao Yun is a monster who comprehended the concept of the azure lightning sword technique in 3 months. Concept? Tung Qingshan carefully looked at Zhuge Yun. He knew that this young man was the legendary genius of the Gui Yuan sect, the young sovereign, Zhuge Yun. He lost again, Wu Man suddenly said. Although Tung Qingshan was talking, he was also paying attention to the competition in the arena. After Wu Man, another first-rated warrior, Lu Liang, went up to challenge. This Lu Liang and the centurion Situ Ning fought fiercely for a long time. However, he was still sent flying out of the arena with a single slash. He lost. In 2 consecutive battles, the challengers were defeated. Even the weakest centurion in the Black Armored Corps is so strong. Tung Qingshan praised in his heart. None of the 9 of you are strong. It's so one-sided. It's so boring. Niuzhan laughed and said. Many of the Black Armored Corps sergeants who were watching the battle also laughed. The sergeants of the Black Armored Corps still supported the 8 centurions in their hearts. However, The faces of the 300 warriors who passed the entrance examination turned ugly. Who said there isn't? Wu Man shouted. Stupid Nyo, you are the oldest. We have one of the youngest ones here. He is only a 16-year-old first-rated warrior, yet he can defeat you. Tung Qingshan was stunned. Tung Qingshan, you have to help us gain some face. Wu Man gave him a look, as if she was begging him. Tung Qingshan took a deep breath and looked at the arena in front of him. In Tung Qingshan's heart, he had always dreamed of meeting the experts of the world. He wanted to see how the experts of the world were different from his internal martial arts. Let's start with this battle. I hope you won't disappoint me. Tung Qingshan thought in his heart. He then held the reincarnation spear in his hand and leaped onto the arena, which was several zhang away. Regardless of whether it was the 6,000 Black Armor Corps or the 300 warriors who passed the entrance examination, they all stared at the arena. Niu Zhan, who was the oldest among the 8, was fighting against the youngest among the 9 first-rated warriors, Tung Qingshan. This Tung Qingshan seems to be quite calm and not impatient at all. Zhuge Yuanhong looked at the arena from afar and said with a smile, "But he is only 16 years old. What experience does he have?" The silver-haired elder in black said, "Just watch." Zhuge Yuanhong watched the battle with interest. Thousands of people watched this battle. A 16-year-old first-rated warrior. Niu Zhan laughed loudly. Tung Qingshan, right? You're quite famous now. But no matter how talented you are, you still need to be polished. Let your big brother Niu polish you. Brother Niu, don't be too ruthless. Xia Sha, who was far away, also laughed and said, "Don't worry." Niu Zhan stretched out his hand and grabbed the black long spear beside him. Tung Qingshan held the reincarnation spear and stood calmly on the spot. "Watch out for my spear." Niu Zhan suddenly roared, and the long spear in his hand danced. The black long spear was like a black flood dragon that came out of its cave and swallowed Tung Qingshan. The spearhead transformed into numerous spear shadows and covered Tung Qingshan's head. Fast and ruthless. Seeing this, Tung Qingshan sighed in his heart. He hasn't even reached the level of one with the spear. He can't even completely control the force of the spear. What a pity. The long spear in Tung Qingshan's hand shook. Phew! The reincarnation spear shot out like a sharp arrow. The moment it touched the opponent's black long spear, the reincarnation spear was like a slithering snake. It actually made a slight turn with the force and easily deflected the opponent's black long spear to one side. Bang! The spearhead of the reincarnation spear shook and hit Niu Zhan's waist. Niu Zhan was sent flying like an old sandbag. He flew 7 to 8 zhang and landed among the Black Armor Corps. Not interesting at all. Tung Qingshan sighed in his heart. What he wanted was to find an expert that could make his eyes light up. In his previous life, he stood at the peak of the internal martial arts. At the peak, it was lonely. What he needed was an opponent that could surprise him. However, it seemed that Niu Zhan was still far from Tung Qingshan's minimum requirement. Defeating Centurion Niu Zhan with one move? Everyone was stunned. Many people didn't see it clearly. They only felt that. Tung Qingshan defeated Centurion Niu Zhan's seemingly powerful spear with one casual move. This guy, Wu Man, was dumbfounded. Chapter 82. Zhuge Yun, the young clan leader of the Gui Yuan sect, had his eyes lit up as he stared at Tung Qingshan in the arena. "Brother, how does this Tung Qingshan compare to you?" Zhuge Qing, the girl beside him, asked softly. Zhuge Yin shook his head, but there was an inexplicable smile on his face. I don't know if we don't compare. But his strength is really strong. He has at least reached the realm of one with a spear." Zhuge Qing looked at Tung Qingshan in surprise. Since young, her brother, Zhuge Yun, was the most talented disciple in the entire Gui Yuan sect. Zhuge Qing also admired her brother. But now, there was someone who was the same age as her brother, and his strength seemed to be no lower than her brother's. Tung Qingshan. Zhuge Qing looked at Tung Qingshan in the arena seriously. Commotion. The whole drill ground was in an uproar. Niu Zhan, who had fallen on the ground, seemed to be in a daze at first. He had wanted to polish his opponent, but who would have thought that he would be sent flying off the arena with a single spear strike? If it was a battle of life and death, Tung Qingshan could have pierced a hole in his body with a single spear strike. Niuzhan stood up and looked at Tung Qingshan in the arena. He shouted, "Good spear art. Tung Qingshan, your spear art is 10 times stronger than mine. It's not a shame that I lost." Tung Qingshan, who was in the arena, also smiled and slightly cupped his hands. "Brother Niu, your control of the force of the spear art is still lacking. If you can improve it, it's hard to say who will win today." Tung Qingshan was not proud at all. In fact, in Tung Qingshan's heart, this little achievement was not worth being proud of. At this time, the middle-aged man in the gray robe said in a clear voice, "Tung Qingshan is the champion of the first arena. The others can also choose to challenge him. The 9 people below the arena, please continue the Centurion competition." Challenged Tung Qingshan? A 16-year-old monster. He was only 16 years old and had defeated the big stupid ox in one move. Was he going to challenge him? "Don't you think you have enough chances to challenge?" Wu Man muttered. She had already failed once, so she only had one chance left. Wu Man was well aware of Niuzhan's strength. His strength was not inferior to hers, and he had more experience than her. Defeating Centurion Niuzhan in one move? What kind of strength was that? Monster. Genius. The other first-rated warriors all had the same thought. Although they could not understand how Tung Qingshan was able to defeat Niuzhan with just a simple spear strike, they could not understand why. But it was precisely because you couldn't see through him that the gap between you and him was too great. "Allow me." With a loud shout, a man with long hair and a long saber on his back jumped onto the stage and challenged another centurion. The centurion battle continued. As the competition continued, some of the centurions were defeated one after another. Each of the 17 people had 2 chances to challenge, which made the competition even more intense. On the viewing platform in front of them, the 4 Grand Commanders and the Grand Master sat high above, watching. The strength of the 9 first-rated warriors this time is not bad. They are able to fight evenly with the 8 centurions. Zhuge Yuanhong said with a smile. The 4 Grand Commanders beside him, however, did not have a smile on their faces. The silver-haired old man in a black robe snorted. "Grand Master, this time, the 8 centurions of our black armored corps are at a disadvantage. We can see that, because among the 9 first-rated warriors, there were still people who had not fought yet. Among the 9 first-rated warriors this time, there are 3 strong ones." Sitting on the chair, the one with the biggest physique said in a low voice that Gong Yangqing, to be able to establish such a reputation in Shuyang County, he is definitely an expert. And that Tung Qingshan, although he is only 16 years old, his strength is really strong. As for the third person, Yu Song, he is the direct disciple of senior Songjiang's single sword. Of course, his strength does not need to be mentioned. Senior Songjiang's single sword's direct disciple, and is regarded as his successor. This Yu Song's Songjiang sword technique has definitely reached an extremely high realm. Another young man said, "Teacher, what do you think?" Among the 4 Grand Commanders, the only female commander looked at Zhuge Yuanhong. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled as he looked at the arena. Now, among these 3 people, Tung Qingshan has already fought, and Gong Yangqing and Yu Song have not fought yet. However, this Tung Qingshan who suddenly appeared really surprised me. His realm is very high. Look at him. There is no sadness or joy on the arena. From a moment he entered the arena, fought with Niuzhan, and defeated Niuzhan, the surrounding thousands of people were amazed. This Tung Qingshan's mood did not change at all. Just this determination. The younger generation will surpass us in time. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Zhuge Yuanhong obviously admired Tung Qingshan. The other 4 couldn't help but become silent. Indeed, with thousands of people watching and amazed, even an expert would naturally feel a trace of pride. In normal battles, it was not rare to see a heart as still as water, but to be praised and envied by thousands of people and still have a heart as still as water. The tempering of one's mind had truly reached an extremely high level. His spear art is also extremely high. Zhuge Yuanhong praised. He did not use any magnificent or mysterious spear art. But that simple spear art, at least, he has already reached the realm of one with the spear, turning complexity into simplicity. One with the spear. Turning complexity into simplicity? The four Grand Commanders were secretly shocked. They were very clear about the strength of their sect master, Zhuge Yuanhong. He was a super expert ranked in the heavenly ranking. His evaluation would definitely not be false. Senior, if this Tung Qingshan and Yu Song were to fight, who would win? The 9 feet tall brawny man opened his mouth and asked. Tung Qingshan's realm is high, but I don't know what his inner strength secret manual is like. After all, an expert's inner strength is the foundation. A top-notch secret manual is very useful. As for this Tung Qingshan, it is said that he is a local of E-City. I think the inner strength secret manual that he practices is probably an ordinary secret manual. For him to have such a deep inner strength, I think he must have obtained some spirit fruit or spirit medicine. Zhuge Yuanhong said, if compared to Yun Er, if Tung Qingshan has a weakness, it would be in the area of inner strength secret manuals. Powerful secret manuals would have a terrifying effect. For example, crossing worlds could greatly increase one's speed. As for powerful inner strength secret manuals and spear art secret manuals, they could greatly increase one's attack power in an instant. Zhuge Yuanhong's eyes were indeed very sharp, and his speculation was also very accurate. Tung Qingshan had never practiced inner strength secret manuals before. His method of using inner strength was the simplest, pouring inner strength into his weapon. The simplest and most primitive method. This Yu Song was able to obtain the praise of one sword of Tsangjiang, Brother Wei. In terms of realm, he has definitely reached an extremely high level. Between him and Tung Qingshan, who will win and who will lose? I don't dare to say it directly, Zhuge Yuanhong said with a faint smile. Feng Er. Zhuge Yuanhong looked at the only young man among the 4 commanders. This Yu Song and Tung Qingshan, even if they are weaker than you, they are not too far off. You have to be careful. Zhang Feng of the 4 commanders. He was the undisputed #1 expert among the younger generation of the Gui Yuan sect. Although the young sect leader Zhuge Yun was a genius, Zhuge Yun was still too young. Zhang Feng was already over 30 years old, but inner strength experts had a very long lifespan, so he was still considered a young man in his 30s. Yes, master. Commander Zhang Feng replied. Yes, that Gong Yangqing is on the stage. The silver-haired, black-robed old man said. Immediately, everyone looked over. In this centurion battle, the battle between Gong Yangqing, Tung Qingshan, and Yu Song was worth watching. On the stage, Gong Yangqing held a huge saber in his hand. His gaze was cold. His opponent was Xia Shuo. If you can take 3 strikes from me, I will leave the stage myself. Gong Yangqing said coldly. You want to defeat me, old Xia, in 3 strikes? Dream on. Xia Shuo stretched out his hand and picked up the black spear beside him. He kicked the spear with his right foot, grabbed the spear shaft with his left hand, and held the end of the spear with his right hand. He simply pushed it forward. Whoosh! The tip of the spear instantly crossed a distance of several zhang and pierced towards Gong Yangqing's head. Huh! Gong Yangqing suddenly let out a low shout. He held the saber with both hands and fiercely chopped down. The air suddenly let out a violent explosion sound. Clang! 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 The sergeants of the Black Armor Corps could only see 3 blurry, blood-red saber shadows. Then a long spear left Xia Shuo's hand and flew up. Xia Shuo himself was heavily hit in the chest by the surface of the saber. Pooh! Xia Shuo spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying out of the stage. Good. Well done. Cheers immediately came from below. Among them, the ones who cheered the loudest were Gong Yangqing's 7 brothers. At the same time, The other martial artists who participated in the entrance examination also cheered excitedly. "Everyone, whoever wants to challenge me, feel free to come," Gong Yangqing said coldly as he looked down from the stage. Xia Shuo tried his best to stand up from the ground. He looked at his palm and saw that it was already bleeding. Such a ruthless saber. Xia Shuo still had lingering fears. A saber filled with killing intent, fast and ruthless. Tung Qingshan, who was on the stage, also watched the battle. Tung Qingshan clearly saw Gong Yangqing's 3 consecutive sabers. The moves are simple and fast, and it just so happens to attack the opponent's weak point. The rarest thing is that indomitable aura filled with killing intent. Tung Qingshan was sure that the opponent's saber art was definitely created in the midst of killing. The moment the saber was drawn, the killing intent was too strong. I really want to compete with him. Tung Qingshan was interested in this Gong Yangqing. This Gong Yangqing was already worthy of him to be slightly serious. After Gong Yangqing made his move, there was only one person among the 17 who had yet to make a move. That person was the green-robed man who had been silently watching the battle. Yu Song, brother Yu, who are you going to challenge? At this moment, the young sect leader, Zhuge Yun, was beside Yu Song. Yu Song was tall, and his shoulders were extremely wide. His face was resolute as if it was carved by a saber. He stood there like a mountain. Zhuge Qing was also looking at Yu Song, the young expert who was highly praised by her father, Zhuge Yuanhong. Gong Yangqing is an expert, but I have some understanding of his strength. If I want to win against him, I have 80% confidence. As for this Tung Qingshan, I don't understand him, but I feel that he should be more terrifying than Gong Yangqing. Yu Song stared at Tung Qingshan, who was on the stage. Zhuge Yun and Zhuge Qing were startled. "You want a challenge?" Zhuge Yun guessed. Tung Qingshan. Yu Song's face revealed a smile and immediately stomped on the ground. Whoosh! In an instant, Yu Song was already on the stage, several zhang away. Songjiang Yu Song. Yu Song carried a black heavy sword on his back and looked at Tung Qingshan, who was on the stage. Tung Qingshan's eyes lit up, and he also smiled as he replied, "East City, Tung Qingshan." Chapter 83. Challenge Qingshan. Tung Qinghu couldn't help but hold his breath. In his heart, Tung Qingshan was omnipotent. However, Tung Qingshan had only wandered around East City in the past and hadn't met many experts. Today, this was Gue Yuan's sect's territory. There were a lot of warriors at the peak of the post-liminary realm here. Whether it was Wu Man, Gong Yangqing, the other first-rated warriors, or the soldiers of the Black Armor Corps, they were all watching this fight attentively. Interesting. Seeing this scene, Zhuge Yuanhong's smile became wider. Among the 4 commanders, the silver-haired black-robed elder and the steel-like muscular man were watching with interest. The younger commander, Zhang Feng, squinted his eyes, and his gaze was like a cold knife. As for the female commander, she watched quietly. On the arena, this pair of young experts stood at the 2 ends of the arena. Tung Qingshan was 7 feet 4 inches tall, about 185 meters, and had cultivated the internal martial arts to the peak. His body was also quite muscular. Yu Song's height was similar to Tung Qingshan's, but Yu Song's shoulders were wider, his arms were longer, and his whole body seemed more muscular. From their appearance, it was impossible to tell the difference in age between the two. Songjiang Yu Song. He was a disciple of Songjiang One Sword and had just finished his apprenticeship and came to Gue Yuan Sect's Black Armor Corps to train. In the outside world, other than some top experts who knew that Songjiang One Sword had such a disciple, many people didn't know of Yu Song. East City, Tung Qingshan, a 16-year-old monster who was also not famous. After all, he was the #1 expert in East City. This was not something worth showing off. Between the two, who was stronger? The entire drill ground was silent. Everyone was watching the two of them. Tung Qingshan, be careful. Yu Song smiled confidently and pulled out the black heavy sword on his back. Make your move. Tung Qingshan held the reincarnation spear and looked at his opponent calmly. Yusong's eyes suddenly lit up. His whole body's aura rose as he roared. Tung Qingshan, take my wave breaker style first. He moved his feet and closed the distance between him and Tung Qingshan. The black heavy sword in his hand made a simple straight slash. Voila! A powerful and heavy chop. In a trance, Tung Qingshan seemed to hear the sound of waves, and the black heavy sword had already landed on top of his head. Break! Tung Qingshan stood where he was and shook his right hand. The long spear was like a venomous snake coming out of its hole as it cleverly touched the black heavy sword. The black heavy sword involuntarily tilted slightly, but it still slashed towards Tung Qingshan's shoulder. What a strong and strange force. Tung Qingshan was startled and hastily dodged to the side. My pursuing Shadow Spear art is actually unable to completely negate his attack power and control the direction of his attack. There's indeed something special about this sword technique. If an ordinary person fought with Tung Qingshan, once their weapons touched, Tung Qingshan would win. But this time there was a problem. How is this possible? Tung Qingshan was shocked, but Yu Song was even more shocked. I practiced my heavy sword in the Tsang River. Even the undercurrent of the Tsang River was unable to change the force of my sword. How can his long spear have such a strong force? In Yu Song's perception, the tip of Tung Qingshan's long spear was like a terrifying whirlpool and undercurrent at the bottom of the Tsang River. Once it touched, the force of his sword would be affected. No wonder that Niu Zhan's weapon deviated so far when he touched Tung Qingshan's long spear and lost immediately. I have already reached the realm of one with the sword, but my sword force was still affected. But I don't believe that this Tung Qingshan can withstand my 33 waves breaker sword. Yu Song's footwork was mysterious as the heavy sword in his hand slashed continuously. Clang, clang, clang. Yu Song circled around Tung Qingshan and continuously moved his position. He was like a fish in the water, very agile. And every slash of the heavy sword was powerful and heavy. Such a strange sword art. Tung Qingshan could only feel that his opponent's heavy sword was getting heavier and heavier. Pong, pong! A footprint appeared on the rock under Tung Qingshan's feet. Every time he moved, a footprint would appear on the bottom of Tung Qingshan's feet. Wonderful! Zhuge Yuanhong, who was watching this fight, laughed. Sangjiang's sword art's 33 waves breaker sword. Each sword is stronger than the previous. In the beginning, each sword only had a force of 10,000 jin, but as time went on, it became heavier and heavier. However, this Tung Qingshan spear art was even more mysterious. His whole body could easily divert the force to the ground. His body was not affected at all. Just this control of force is really amazing. I don't know what kind of environment could create such a genius. Using force to divert force. In his previous life, Tung Qingshan was a grandmaster of internal martial arts. His control over the muscles and bones of his whole body had already reached the peak. His opponent's force was powerful and heavy, but every time, Tung Qingshan could easily transmit the force through his feet to the ground. This Tung Qingshan has actually been moving within a range of one zhang. The black-cloaked, silver-haired elder exclaimed. Yu Song's 33 waves breaker sword has only been used up to the 23rd sword. The further he uses, the greater the force. I don't believe that this Tung Qingshan can easily defend against the 33 waves breaker sword. The young commander Zhang Feng said coldly. 33 waves breaker sword was very famous. Even Zhang Feng himself had to use all his strength to defend against it. It was impossible for him to be this relaxed. On the stage, Yu Song's figure was light and agile, but his sword force was as heavy as a mountain. Sword after sword, it was continuous and unceasing. Clang, clang, clang. Tung Qingshan was still moving within a range of one zhang. Every time the spear in his hand slightly touched the heavy sword, he would withdraw it. Although every time Tung Qingshan left a deep footprint on the rocky ground, Tung Qingshan's smile became wider and wider. To be able to create this sword art, he is really a genius. The sword art was like a torrential river. One sword after another, the power and momentum became stronger and stronger. I really want to see when this sword force will end. The strength of both of Tung Qingshan's arms was around 10,000 jin. Other than the flood dragon in the frost jade pool. Until now, no one could force Tung Qingshan to use the terrifying power in his body. This is the 32nd sword. The impact force of this sword is at least tens of thousands of jin. A normal expert at the peak of the post-liminary realm would have been hacked to death. Tung Qingshan turned his spear and once again defended against his opponent's sword. The terrifying force was transmitted through the spear to both of his arms. It easily passed through his bones, tendons, muscles, and finally to both of his feet. It did not cause any damage to Tung Qingshan's inner strength. The 33rd sword. Tung Qingshan was counting his opponent's sword moves in his heart. Pung. Yu Song's last sword was actually a fierce slash with both of his hands. It carried the remaining power of the previous 32 sword moves. This sword even caused the surrounding air to vibrate, and the sound of an explosion could be heard. It caused the surrounding people who were watching the battle to distort. Clang! As usual, it was an extremely simple spear. The spear was simple and plain. However, the moment it came into contact with the opponent's heavy sword, the entire spear instantly produced a terrifying spiral force. It was like a terrifying whirlpool that could not be seen in the darkness. It engulfed the opponent's heavy sword and changed the opponent's sword force. Haha, this is great, this is great. Yu Song had already retreated several zhang away. He was so excited that his eyes were slightly red. He laughed loudly and said, "To be able to receive my 33 sword moves in one go, I really admire Brother Tung's spear art. I wonder what is the name of your spear art?" "My spear art is called Pursuing Shadow." Tung Qingshan also praised, "Brother Yu's sword art and body art are also very mysterious. I wonder what it is called." Tung Qingshan had also heard the opponent say wave breaker style. It was very obvious that this set of sword art did not only have this one style. This sword art of mine was created by my master in Tsangjiang after comprehending for 100 years. It is called the Tsangjiang sword art. What I used just now was the wave breaker style of the Tsangjiang sword art. As for my body art, it is the swimming dragon style. Yu Song said straightforwardly. Actually, the name of the secret martial arts manual did not need to be kept a secret. As soon as he said this, there was an uproar from below. Tsangjiang sword art. That is Tsangjiang sword art? This Yu Song is the disciple of the Tsangjiang sword saint? The warriors and black armor corps soldiers who were watching the battle also knew some of the world's most famous people. Tsangjiang sword, Wei Wuya, was an extremely famous, super strong warrior in the land of the 9 prefectures. He was one of 36 people in the heavenly ranking and was respectfully called the Tsangjiang sword saint. Tsangjiang sword art had a total of 6 styles, and its power was extremely great. Brother Tung, I have not mastered the Tsangjiang sword art's overlapping wave style. When using it, I am unable to control it as I wish. You have to be careful, Yu Song said solemnly. Tung Qingshan was a little surprised. This Yu Song, other than the wave breaker style just now, actually had an even more powerful overlapping wave style. Ha, Brother Yu, there is no need to hold back. Just come at me. Tung Qingshan stood with his spear in hand. Yu Song's expression was solemn. A green halo appeared on his face. The tip of the black heavy sword actually emitted strands of energy and shot onto the rocky ground, shattering the rocks on the ground. It was very obvious that Yu Song was unable to perfectly control his inner strength. Overlapping wave style. Yu Song growled. Rumble, very clearly, the black heavy sword slashed towards Tung Qingshan with the roaring sound of the river water. Waves of inner strength vibrated, producing a terrifying roaring sound of the river water. The sword in Yu Song's hand seemed to have transformed into an angry Tsangjiang, engulfing Tung Qingshan. The sword had not yet arrived, but its imposing manner had already made Tung Qingshan fearful. Not good. The power of this sword is much, much stronger than before. Tung Ching Shan was secretly alarmed. Purely relying on the pursuing shadow spear would definitely not be able to dissipate this attack. If Tung Ching Shan relied on his powerful brute force, he could directly smash his opponent to death with one spear strike. Unless it was necessary, Tung Ching Shan did not want to reveal his astonishing strength. This was his biggest secret. I have to use the transmutation unity law spear art. The pursuing shadow spear art was, after all, an offensive spear art. Although it had the ability to dissipate force, how could it be compared to the transmutation unity law spear art? The transmutation unity law spear art was the only defensive spear art among the 5 elemental spear art. It was the strongest in dissipating force and defensive spear art. Ooh, the reincarnation spear spun. The spear's shadow danced in the air. It was as if a frightening deep-sea whirlpool had formed in front of Tung Ching Shan. When Yu Song's heavy sword and Tung Ching Shan's shadow came into contact, it was as if the angry river water was engulfed by the whirlpool. That strange force made Yu Song feel so uncomfortable that he vomited blood. "Let go!" Tung Ching Shan roared. Ooh, facing the frightening, devouring force, Yu Song could no longer control the heavy sword in his hand. The heavy sword immediately flew out of his hand and was swept by the devouring force, fiercely smashing into the rocks of the arena. The entire arena shook fiercely, as if a meteorite had smashed into the arena. Boom! The rocks on the arena were completely cracked open. The cracks were hideous, and the broken rock powder flowed out. Ow, how was this possible? Yu Song's right hand trembled slightly. He looked at the black, heavy sword that was embedded in the gravel pit in disbelief. He could not believe all of this. Chapter 84. Ooh, the 4 commanders stood up at the same time and looked at this scene in shock. How is this possible? Song Jiang's sword art S wave stacking style was actually broken just like that? The silver-haired, black-robed elder said in shock. The expression of the tallest among the 4 commanders also changed. Such a strong defense, and a spear technique that diverts force. This spear technique has almost returned to its original state. That defensive spear technique. Zhang Feng was also completely stunned. Tung Ching Shan, the only female among the 4 commanders, also revealed a shocked expression. The 4 commanders were completely shocked by Tung Ching Shan's transmutation unity law spear technique and couldn't help but stand up. "Master, Tung Ching Shan just now, what spear technique was that?" The female turned her head and looked at her master, Zhuge Yuanhong, who was in the center. Among the 5 people on the high platform, only Zhuge Yuanhong was still sitting calmly. His expression was still calm, but his eyes lit up. He carefully examined Tung Ching Shan on the high platform, and the smile on his face gradually bloomed. Tung Ching Shan, what a good Tung Ching Shan. The entire drill ground was silent, and then it became noisy. Did you see that spear technique just now, clearly? How did he block that spear technique? Ooh, Yu Song's heavy sword left his hand. I don't know what happened. The more than 6,000 warriors on the drill ground were discussing. Everyone was a warrior, and although they didn't understand Yu Song's Sanjiang sword art S wave stacking style, they could still see its terrifying power. Tung Ching Shan's defensive technique was too fast, and they couldn't see it clearly. "Ching Shan, well done!" Tung Chinghu shouted excitedly. "This Tung Ching Shan is yours?" The black armored corps sergeants and warriors beside Tung Chinghu couldn't help but ask. "That's my cousin," Tung Chinghu said proudly. In the land of the 9 prefectures, people respected cultivators. Hearing Tung Chinghu's words, the surrounding people also looked at Tung Chinghu in a new light. He immediately began to talk with Tung Chinghu, and at the same time, asked Tung Ching Shan about some of his famous past. On the arena, how could this be? My wave folding style. No. Yu Song stared at his right hand and couldn't help but shake his head. "Brother Yu." Tung Ching Shan saw this scene and couldn't help but frown as he shouted. But Yu Song didn't seem to hear it all. Did my move just now deal a huge blow to Yu Song? His will can't be that weak, right? As Tung Ching Shan pondered, He swung his right hand at the same time. The reincarnation spear in his hand shot out and pierced into the stone pit not far away. The spear struck the black heavy sword. The heavy sword was sent flying and landed in front of Yusong. Clang! The heavy sword hit the stone and made a crisp sound. Yusong quivered and his eyes regained their clarity. He immediately picked up the black heavy sword and cupped his hands, feeling ashamed. Brother Qingshan, I was thinking of a way to break your spear art just now. In an instant, I was entranced. I'm ashamed. Tung Qingshan was stunned. So it wasn't because he was shocked, but because he was entranced in thinking of a way to break his spear art. Brother used Songjiang's sword technique is very extraordinary. If brother you could master the wave folding style, I wouldn't have one so easily. Tung Qingshan said with a faint smile. In today's battle, I understood a lot more about the wave folding style. I really have to thank Brother Qingshan. Yusong's face was full of smiles. Brother Qingshan, in the future, we will all be in the Black Armored Corps. We will have plenty of time to meet and learn from each other. I will go down first and not stop others from challenging you. Yusong laughed and went down the ring. At the same time, he shouted to the surrounding, everyone who wants to challenge Tung Qingshan, don't miss this good opportunity today. Challenge Tung Qingshan? Knowing that you are not his opponent, but still going to challenge him, isn't that asking for trouble? Fang Zong, you and I will fight. With a loud shout, another first-rated warrior jumped onto the ring. Everyone had 2 chances to challenge. The first-rated warriors below began to challenge one by one. Wu Man, Niu Zhan, Xia Shuo, and the others also began to challenge. The battles were also very intense. The surrounding sergeants of the Black Armored Corps were also watching excitedly. But no one came to challenge Tung Qingshan. I didn't expect that even if I control my strength to be 10,000 Jin, none of these people could defeat me. Tung Qingshan secretly sighed that Yusong, if he could master the wave folding style, he might be able to force me to use even more strength. Tung Qingshan's biggest trump card wasn't the crossing worlds, but his body's terrifying monstrous strength. At the age of 16, after practicing the godly tiger form technique for a month, Tung Qingshan already had a strength of around 150,000 Jin when he fought with the demonic beast Flood Dragon in the Frost Jade Pool. Afterwards, he stayed in Tongjia village for half a year. During this half a year, Tung Qingshan had always been practicing the godly tiger form technique. Although his progress was slow, and after half a year, he didn't improve at all. However, when Tung Qingshan took Tung Qinghu and left his hometown for Jiangning County. As a super expert, Tung Qingshan's control over his strength was very precise. He estimated that both of his arms had a strength of 180,000 Jin. As the saying goes, one strong man can defeat 10 men. With Tung Qingshan's terrifying strength, even a simple smash could smash Yusong to death. If this terrifying strength was combined with Tung Qingshan's mysterious spear art, Tung Qingshan would basically be a god of death. In this Gui Yuan sect, I should be able to learn secret inner strength techniques. I don't know how my strength will increase if I practice the secret inner strength techniques. Tung Qingshan wasn't arrogant enough to think that he was invincible in the world just because of his great strength. After all, the legendary Emperor Yu was able to split a towering mountain with 5 swings of his axe. The legendary Heavenly Emperor of the Qin Mountains was able to stop the flow of the 100-zhang wide Yen River with one palm. Just thinking about it made Tung Qingshan shudder. A 100-zhang wide river could stop flowing, and a towering mountain could collapse with a loud bang. These people were thousands of times stronger than him. They would probably be able to easily kill him with one palm. It's not that there's no one stronger than me in the land of the 9 prefectures. It's just that the people I've come into contact with are all experts of the younger generation. Maybe even Yusong's teacher, the Songjiang Sword Saint, is stronger than me. Tung Qingshan was actually a little excited. He was excited because he had an opponent. The challenges went on one after another. Each of the 17 people had 2 chances to challenge. As time went on, the challenges were nearing the end. This is the last match. Haha, the others are so scared that they don't dare to challenge Tung Shan. The tall and muscular man couldn't help but laugh as he said that Tung Shan's attainments in spear art could be said to have reached the level of returning to one's natural state. The others are not stupid. Of course they won't challenge him. The silver-haired elder in black said, returning to one's natural state? He hasn't reached that level yet. Zhuge Yuanhong said with a faint smile. Sovereign, teacher? The four commanders all looked at Zhuge Yuanhong. Zhuge Yuanhong praised. However, he is only 16 years old. Only 16 years old. A 16-year-old young man already has such amazing spear art. He is not inferior to some of the spear masters in the land of the 9 prefectures. There are only 2 possibilities. 1. He is the reincarnation of a great master of the Buddhism sect. He is the reincarnation of a living Buddha of the Buddhism sect. In a land of the 9 prefectures, the most famous sects with the deepest foundations were the 8 great sections. Among the 8 biggest sects, the Mani Temple was the strongest. The other 7 biggest sects controlled 1 prefecture each, and the Mani Temple controlled 2 prefectures. The Mani Temple was located in the western region of the 9 prefectures. Its sphere of influence was the Rongzhou in the southwest and the Liangzhou in the west. Mani Temple was the only Buddhist sect among the 8 biggest sections. It had thousands of years of history. The Buddhist sect had absolute authority in Rongzhou and Liangzhou. Among the 8 major sects in the 9 regions, the other 7 major sects cultivated by refining essence in a qi, combining spirit and qi to reach the realm of refining qi into spirit and stepping into the innate realm. This was also the most widespread cultivation method in the entire 9 prefectures. On the other hand, the Buddhist sect cultivation was completely different. They cultivated the 3 meridians and 7 chakras to see one's nature in order to obtain the sarira and achieve arhat fruit. Any Buddhist master who can form a sarira is called a Buddhist arhat, which is equivalent to a Xiantian master. The cultivation of the Buddhist sect had its own uniqueness. Because the human body was limited by heaven and earth, there was a limit to one's lifespan. Some Buddhist sect masters who had reached an inconceivable realm were able to preserve their souls before they died and reincarnate as living Buddhas. They had all the memories of their previous lives. It was not surprising that such a living Buddha could use such a spear art. If he was a living Buddha, he would have been taken away by the monks of the Mani Temple. How could he be here? The silver-haired elder in black said. The possibility of him being a living Buddha is very low. Zhuge Yuanhong nodded in acknowledgement. Actually, they had never thought that. Although Tung Shan was not the reincarnation of a living Buddha, he was actually the reincarnation of an internal martial arts grandmaster from another world. Master, what's the second possibility? Zhang Feng asked. Zhuge Yuanhong sighed. The second possibility is that he has a pure heart that can understand the heavens and earth. He has lived in the mountains since he was young and followed the heavenly Tao. With the heavens and earth as his teacher, he was able to understand the simple yet profound spear art. He has a pure heart. Once one entered the mortal world, one's heart would be in a mess. In the land of the 9 prefectures, there are some geniuses with pure hearts that can understand the heavens and earth. With the heavens and earth as their teacher, they understand the spear art and blade art. Although each move seems simple, it contains profound mysteries. However, Feng, you don't have to be discouraged. Zhuge Yuanhong said. To be able to create such a spear art, there are advantages and disadvantages. Advantages and disadvantages? The 4 commanders looked at him. Zhuge Yuanhong nodded and said, normally, when people practice sword arts and blade arts, they practice step by step from the basics. The sword arts they learn become more and more profound and complicated. From simple to complex, this is a process. In battles, experts will discover the weaknesses of their sword arts and blade arts. They will gradually improve and simplify until they reach the state of returning to their original state. from simple to complex, from complex to simple, until every move and style has infinite power. One setback after another, understanding after another, improving after another, until the final enlightenment. This is much better than using the heavens and earth as a teacher to create simple yet powerful moves. Zhuge Yuanhong said. I understand. Zhang Feng nodded. Only through the tempering of the mortal world can one achieve higher achievements. A genius like Tang Qingshan is too young, although he has already comprehended such a powerful spear art. But he hasn't experienced too many setbacks. If he wants to improve, he must go through tempering. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and said, of course, for a genius like him, once he breaks through after tempering, his achievements will be limitless. The four commanders nodded. However, they didn't know that the tempering that Tang Qingshan had experienced was much more than what they had imagined. Sovereign, the centurion competition has ended. The silver-haired elder in black said. Yes, start teaching him the heavy armor and the war horse. Zhuge Yuanhong ordered. Chapter 85. On the drill ground, the Black Armored Corps discussed quietly in groups of 2s and 3s. The Centurion Challenge has ended. The 8 new Centurions are Tang Qingshan, Niu Zhan, Gong Yanqing, Hong Xingyang Yusong. The black-robed elder announced the names of the 8 victors from the high platform. 8 Centurions, come to the front. The black-robed elder said loudly. Tang Qingshan and the other 7 walked forward side by side. Thud, thud, thud. 8 heavily armored cyan mane treading in snow horses were led over by 8 black armored corps sergeants. Each cyan mane treading in snow horses had a set of dark red heavy hematite armor on its saddle. Every centurion of the Black Armored Corps has a cyan mane treading in snow horse and a set of hematite heavy armor. As for the weapons you need, you can use the ones you carry, or you can ask for them from a sect. The black-robed elder said coldly. Tang Qingshan. The black-robed elder suddenly looked at Tang Qingshan. From today onwards, you will be the centurion of the spearmen under the first commander of the Black Armored Corps, the third commandant. Yes, Tang Qingshan replied loudly. Receive the war horse and heavy armor. The black-robed elder said coldly. Immediately, a sergeant of the Black Armored Corps at the side led the cyan mane treading in snow horse to Tang Qingshan's side. Tang Qingshan solemnly received the cyan mane treading in snow horse and the hematite heavy armor. The Black Armored Corps is really rich. A centurion will use the cyan mane treading in snow horse and hematite heavy armor. The cyan mane treading in snow horse was the king of the cyan mane horses and was worth 5,000 taels of silver. The hematite heavy armor was not any lower than the cyan mane treading in snow horse. If the heavy armor on the war horse was included, the equipment alone was worth more than 10,000 taels of silver. It was truly extravagant. Niu Zhan, the black-robed elder, spoke again. From today onwards, you will be the third commander of the Black Armored Corps, under the first commandant. The 8 centurions all put away their war horses and heavy armor. The large group of Black Armored Corps soldiers below could not help but feel a little jealous. The centurion competition has ended. The 9 first-rated warriors who failed will directly become sergeants. Now, let's begin the fight for the position of corporal. The black-robed old man indifferently said before he sat back down. As the first commander, he couldn't even be bothered to take a look at this competition. Compared to the battle for Centurion, the battle for squad leader was obviously weaker. But the whole drill ground was even more lively. Qingshan, just wait and see. I'll be able to get the rank of corporal easily. Even if you get the rank of Centurion, I can't embarrass you. Tang Qinghu smiled confidently, and Tang Qingshan also had some confidence in Tang Qinghu's strength. Among the second-rate martial artists, his cousin should be considered average, because he practiced the great spear stance and the tiger fist. His cousin's spear technique, speed, and listening skill should be on par with the centurion Niu Zhan. There shouldn't be any problem in getting the rank of corporal, Tung Shan secretly said in his heart. Tung Shan. A clear voice sounded. Tung Shan turned around and saw that the person who came was Wu Man blinked her eyes and said, Tung Shan, I really couldn't tell at first. You're actually so powerful. Even Yusong was defeated by you. How'd you train your spear technique? Who's your master? I created it myself. Do you believe me? Tung Shan teased. TSK, you're still bragging. Wu Man snorted. She then looked at the cyan mane treading on snow horse that was being led by Tung Shan. Her eyes revealed a look of envy. She then glared at Tung Shan and said, Humph, you bunch of monsters. There are actually quite a few experts this time. Otherwise, I would definitely be one of the 8 centurions. When can I have a treading on snow horse? Senior sister, even if you get this treading on snow horse, it won't be easy to tame it. Zhuge Yun and his sister Zhuge Qing walked over. Brother Tung, it's fine for you to lead this treading on snow horse. But it's not easy to sit on its back and make it listen to you. Zhuge Yun smiled and reminded, the more precious it is, the harder it is to tame it. You have to be patient. Brother, look, that Tung Qinghu won. Zhuge Qing suddenly said. Tung Shan turned around. Sure enough, Tung Qinghu, who was holding a long spear, was roaring loudly and proudly. But in the noisy drill ground, it was almost inaudible. In the evening, the crescent moon hung high in the sky. It was now the 12th month of the winter, and the night was still very cold. In the barracks of the Black Armor Corps of the Gue Yuan sect, every centurion had their own courtyard. And the new centurion, Tung Shan, was currently in his own courtyard. The soldiers of the Black Armor Corps are really good at drinking. Tung Shan recalled this day and sighed. During the day, it was the centurion and corporal competition. At night, it was also the celebration of drinking. As Tung Shan became the new centurion, the soldiers under his command naturally had to toast him. And the other experts of the Black Armor Corps also respected Tung Shan as an expert, so they also came to toast him. Luckily, Tung Shan's internal organs were extremely strong, so he didn't get drunk. There's still one thing I haven't done today. Tung Shan looked at the corner of the courtyard, at the war horse, Cyan treading on snow horse. Taming a horse? Tung Shan smiled and walked over. The Cyan treading on snow horse's eyes looked at Tung Shan, then lowered its head again, not paying attention to Tung Shan at all. Phew! Tung Shan pressed his right hand on the saddle. Suddenly, he exerted force. The Cyan treading on snow horse lost its balance and knelt down. The Cyan treading on snow horse was instantly enraged. Its 4 hooves stomped the ground, desperately trying to stand up, and at the same time, it let out an angry neigh. Tung Shan only used his right hand to press on the saddle. No matter how angry the Cyan treading on snow horse tried to resist, it couldn't stand up. It was as if Tung Shan's hand was a mountain. No matter how mad it was, it couldn't move Tung Shan's right hand even an inch. Tung Shan looked at the Cyan treading on snow horse coldly. Gradually, the Cyan treading on snow horse gave up resisting and lowered its head. Animals were very simple. If you were stronger than them, they would choose to submit. Tung Shan's ears twitched. Creak! The courtyard door opened, and Tung Qinghu walked in, reeking of alcohol. He smiled and said, Shan, the place where a centurion lives is better than where I live. I only have 1 room at my place, and I don't even have a courtyard. I'll sleep here. Sure, no problem. Tung Shan replied with a smile. Today, his cousin had also obtained the position of corporal with his strength. I heard a horse neigh just now. Why? Are you taming this Cyan treading on snow horse? Tung Qinghu asked. Yes. How is it? Tung Qinghu asked. I heard from the brothers that this treading on snow horse isn't that easy to tame. It's already tamed. Tung Shan smiled and took out a pot of tea from the central room. You reek of alcohol. Drink some water to sober up. As he said this, he went to the corner of the courtyard. The 2 brothers sat at the stone table, drinking tea and chatting. That's right. Shan, you could kill the Wolf King at the age of 10. Taming a treading on snow horse is nothing. Tung Chinghu's eyes lit up. Qingshan, do you know what the mounts of the commandant and commander of the Black Armor Corps are? And what is the heavy armor? What? Tung Qingshan really didn't know. The Black Armor Corps has a total of 4 commanders, 12 commandant, and 60 centurions. I heard from my brothers in the Black Armor Corps that the centurions have treading on snow horse and hematite heavy armor. Sir Commandant, that is a scarlet blood horse that is worth 20 to 30,000 taels of silver, and an equally precious cold steel heavy armor. I heard that a scarlet blood horse can travel more than 2,000 li in a day. Tung Qinghu lived with the ordinary soldiers, so he had heard a lot of news. Tung Qingshan's eyes lit up. Scarlet blood horse? Tung Qingshan had also heard that the sweat of this kind of warhorse was blood red. Its running speed was extremely fast. Of course, the cold steel heavy armor wasn't completely made of millennium cold steel, wherein it would feel cold to the bone. It was just that part of the material was cold steel. This cold steel heavy armor's defense was naturally very high. What about the 4 commanders? Tung Qingshan asked. The 4 commanders' mounts are the Black Dragon Horse, also known as the Dark Demonic Horse, one of the 3 dragon horses in the land of the 9 prefectures. It is said that it can travel 5,000 li in a day. When they run, it is said that they will only feel a gust of black wind blow past them, and then they will disappear. Although the 4 commanders are qualified to own the Dark Demonic Horse, it is said that only 2 of the 4 commanders have tamed the Dark Demonic Horse. The other 2 younger ones have not succeeded. Tung Qingshan secretly exclaimed, 5,000 li in a day? One must know that war horses can't run for 24 hours nonstop. Horses also need a rest. Even if the Dark Demonic Horse was a dragon horse, running for 12 hours in a day was considered very powerful. 5,000 li in 12 hours was equivalent to 400 li in an hour. 200 kilometers per hour? This is a sustained speed. If it is an explosive speed, it should be able to reach 400 kilometers per hour in an instant. This is even faster than the top speed of the supercars in my previous life. Tung Qingshan was shocked. As expected of a dragon horse, 5,000 li in a day. Terrifying. Only in an era with abundant spiritual chi of heaven and earth could it be born. The more powerful the horse, the harder it is to tame it. Although this dark demonic horse has been tamed by the ancestors of the Gui Yuan sect, its wild nature has been reduced. However, it is still not something an ordinary expert can tame. Tung Qingshan secretly thought. The 4 commanders' armors are dark steel heavy armors. Their defense is also very high. Tung Qinghu said, yes. Tung Qingshan did not care much about the so-called heavy armors, because heavy armors are powerful in group battles. However, in a fight between experts, they have fatal weaknesses. 1. It is impossible for heavy armors to not have any gaps. There are many gaps on the body. Experts can easily kill their enemies through the gaps. 2. The most fatal part of heavy armors is that it affects speed and agility. As an expert in a life and death battle, agility is very important. If you wear heavy armors, your movements and agility will definitely be greatly reduced. It is fine if you are in an army of thousands. However, in a one-on-one fight, your opponent can easily dodge and easily trample on you. The 2 brothers talked until late into the night. All right, cousin, it is late. Rest early. We still have morning training tomorrow. Tung Qingshan said. Yes. Tung Qinghu suddenly felt a little lonely. Yes, we still have morning training tomorrow. Qingshan, from today onwards, we are real members of the Black Armor Corps. I'm really not used to it. I don't know how the clansmen in Tongja village are doing. Tung Qingshan's heart trembled slightly. Yes, from today onwards, he was also a member of the Gui Yuan sect and a centurion of the Black Armor Corps. Work hard. Don't let your family down. Tung Qingshan encouraged. Yes. Tung Qinghu also took a deep breath. We brothers will work hard in this Gui Yuan sect. In the future, we will go back with glory. Chapter 86. It was late at night. The Gui Yuan sect of Jiangning County was silent. Almost everyone had fallen asleep. In the Gui Yuan sect, in the study room of the sovereign, Zhuge Yuanhong, the candles were still lit. Zhuge Yuanhong's long hair hung loosely over his shoulders. He wore a loose white robe and was barefooted. He held a paintbrush in his hand and wantonly sprinkled ink on the paper on the desk. There was even a smile on his face. It was obvious that he was completely immersed in the artistic conception of the painting. Bang, 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 bang. There was a knock on the door. Zhuge Yuanhong's hand paused and looked at the painting with satisfaction. He then put the paintbrush aside and said with a smile, "Come in." The door opened. The gray-cloaked, middle-aged man who was in charge of receiving over 300 warriors walked in with a smile. He glanced at the painting on the desk and said, "Sovereign, your painting is getting more and more lifelike. Sovereign, you have a successor for your supreme art, but you don't have a good successor for your painting skills." "I'm just randomly doodling. I'm in a leisurely mood." Zhuge Yuanhong didn't care. He looked at the gray-cloaked, middle-aged man and asked, "Martial brother, I asked you to investigate Tung Qingshan's background. How is it going?" "I have," the gray-cloaked, middle-aged man replied. The Gui Yuan sect was a great sect that controlled the entire Jiangning County. There were intelligence agents at the borders of the Jiangning County and in every city. If the Gui Yuan sect wanted to investigate Tung Qingshan's whereabouts, they would be able to find out everything within a few hours. "Tell me quickly," Zhuge Yuanhong said. "Sovereign." The gray-cloaked, middle-aged man's face was full of smiles. "This Tung Qingshan is definitely a talented person. He was born in a mountain village called Tungjia Village at the foot of the Great Yin Mountain in Yi City. It is said that when he was 6 years old, he could lift 100 gene stone." Zhuge Yuanhong raised his eyebrows. Around the age of 10, his spear technique is already superb enough to kill the Wolf King. "When I was 14, I fought with the second of the 3 Wang brothers, Wang Taifeng, and we were on par. At the age of 16, which is this year, he even killed the Yin Shan gang's first leader, Li Yin Shan, by himself and was rumored to be the #1 expert in East City. As for Tungjia Village, it is famous for its bravery and martial prowess," the middle-aged man said in one breath. Zhuge Yuanhong smiled and nodded. "Yes, his background is clear. Master, don't worry. This Tung Qingshan's background is very clean. Our people have long collected some information about Tung Qingshan. Tung Qingshan's father was called Tung Qingshan. His mother's name was Yuanlan. There's nothing suspicious about it." The middle-aged man in the gray robe was very sure. "Just as I guessed." Zhuge Yuanhong walked to the window barefooted with disheveled hair. "I have never seen Tung Qingshan's spear technique before. It should be self-created. The possibility of it being taught by an expert is very small. The most important thing is that his use of inner strength is too rough. His secret inner strength technique must be the worst kind. All kinds of secret inner strength techniques, mental cultivation methods, and sword art secret manuals are suspected to allow inner strength to display great power. For example, Yusong's Tsanjiang sword art wave stacking style had an instantaneous attack power that was 10 times that of an ordinary expert at the peak of the post-liminary realm. Even Tung Qingshan, under the premise of concealing his astonishing power, had to rely on the transmutation unity law spear art to defend. The reason why the wave stacking style was so powerful, sword art, mental cultivation methods, and so on were indispensable. Tung Qingshan's secret inner strength technique was not the worst. Rather, Tung Qingshan did not have any secret inner strength technique. The reason why he had inner strength was because he practiced internal martial arts. Inner strength was only a side effect of practicing internal martial arts. At the age of 16, without any guidance, he is actually stronger than Brother Wei's proud disciple Yusong, and this is under the condition that his inner strength is weak. This is a real genius, an unpolished jade. Zhuge Yuanhong's eyes lit up. As the sovereign of a sect, To be able to obtain such a talented, unpolished jade was a kind of luck. Sovereign, when are you going to accept this Tung Ching Shan as your disciple? The middle-aged man in gray couldn't help but ask. Among the four commanders, Zhang Feng was Zhuge Yuanhong's disciple. The female commander, Commander Guan, was also Zhuge Yuanhong's disciple. Zhuge Yuanhong was not only extremely strong, but he was also very good at teaching disciples. None of the disciples that he carefully taught were weak. No, I don't plan to accept him as my disciple for the time being. Zhuge Yuanhong shook his head. This, sovereign, why are you doing this? The middle-aged man in gray was shocked. This was because the relationship between a master and a disciple was very tight. The status of a master was almost the same as the status of a parent. Accepting Tung Ching Shan as a disciple and having a master-disciple relationship with Tung Ching Shan would also make it easier for Tung Ching Shan to serve the Gui Yuan sect. This Tung Ching Shan's talent is almost the same as Yun Er's. The most important thing is not his talent, but his temperament. Zhuge Yuanhong said, Yun Er can't stand loneliness. Although his talent is extremely high, a real expert must be able to stand loneliness. However, his temperament can't be forcibly suppressed. Otherwise, it will only backfire. For Yun Er, I can only wait patiently. Zhuge Yuanhong had high expectations for his son. But this Tung Ching Shan is different. I see a kind of calmness in him that doesn't match his age. He is as calm as a mountain. Facing the praises of the 6,000 black armored corps, he doesn't have any terrifying calmness. This kind of temperament, coupled with his talent and pure heart, he doesn't need me to teach him. The path that he creates is the most suitable for him. I only need to guide him a little, and he will create everything by himself. Zhuge Yuanhong said with a faint smile. The middle-aged man in gray nodded thoughtfully. This is a piece of unpolished jade. Our Gui Yuan sect has a rare genius in the past 1,000 years. In the future, he may become the pillar of our Gui Yuan sect. Such a piece of unpolished jade must be carved and polished properly. Zhuge Yuanhong sighed. The middle-aged man in gray was shocked. Sovereign, this Tung Ching Shan, you said that he will become the pillar of our Gui Yuan sect in the future? You mean he can reach the innate realm? In the land of the 9 prefectures, these powerful ancient sects had thousands of years of history. The true pillar of the sect was an innate master. Zhuge Yuanhong looked at the night sky through the window. Only when the spirit and qi are in harmony can he step into the innate realm. It can only be found by chance. I don't dare to say that he will definitely step into the innate realm. However, among the young talents of our Gui Yuan sect, if there is anyone who has the most hope, it should be this Tung Ching Shan. All right, senior martial brother, you have been busy for a long time. Go back and rest. Zhuge Yuanhong said lightly. The middle-aged man in gray left the study room. In the study room, the candlelight was dim. Zhuge Yuanhong, whose hair was disheveled, clasped his hands behind his back, looked at the night sky and murmured, This Tung Ching Shan has a clean background, but why do I feel that he is very mysterious? What is the problem? There were very few people that he couldn't see through. Then, Zhuge Yuanhong walked to the futon behind the desk and sat down with his legs crossed. With a flick of his sleeve, the candle was extinguished. Creak! The door of the study room closed automatically. In the darkness, Zhuge Yuanhong closed his eyes and sat down with his legs crossed. The sky was just beginning to brighten. The entire Black Armored Corps camp was bustling with noise and excitement. There were over 6,000 people in the Black Armored Corps, and all of them were provided with food. Usually, single soldiers would eat whatever they wanted in the cook's barracks. As for the Black Armored Corps soldiers with families, they would go to the cook's barracks to get food for their wives and children. That's right. The Black Armored Corps soldiers were allowed to bring their wives and children to the barracks. After all, once one became a soldier of the Black Armored Corps, it would be a lifetime thing. The Gui Yuan sect would not be too heartless. Therefore, the soldiers were allowed to bring their wives and children. The entire cook's barracks had 4 large houses that occupied a large area. Each of the houses was 100 feet wide and 100 feet long. The Black Armor Corps had a total of 4 battalions, and these 4 houses were enough to accommodate 6,000 people of the Black Armor Corps. "Ah, Brother Ching Shan. Brother Tung, you're here." "Sir, we've already eaten. Why are you here?" As soon as Tung Ching Shan entered, many people greeted him warmly. Some were centurions, and some are ordinary soldiers. During the celebration banquet last night, many people had already regarded Tung Ching Shan as a good brother. "What are we having for breakfast?" Tung Ching Shan smiled as he walked over. The food of the Black Armor Corps was very good. Steamed buns, eggs, egg pancakes, meat buns, dumplings, and so on. There were buckets and buckets of food. After all, even the Black Armor Corps soldiers could eat, so of course, there was a lot of food for so many people. The food here is better than in our village. Tung Chinghu ate an egg with 1 bite and a big meat bun with 2 bites. He ate happily. "Eat more. You'll have the strength to do morning exercises later." Tung Ching Shan smiled. "Ching Shan." Tung Chinghu suddenly frowned and said, "Although I'm a corporal, I'm not in your 100-soldier squad. I'm in the spearman squad, and you're the centurion of the spearman squad. Ask around and see if you can get me to join your 100-soldier squad." Hearing this, Tung Ching Shan also felt that this was a problem. When he was assigned to the 3rd Commandant of the 1st Army, his cousin, Tung Chinghu, was also under the 3rd Commandant, but not in his 100-soldier squad. After all, there were only a few corporal positions to compete for. If there was an empty position, they would win it. In Tung Ching Shan's 100-soldier squad, there was no vacant corporal position. Of course, Tung Chinghu was not assigned to it. "It's just a small matter. I'll ask around later and get you to join me." "It should be fine," Tung Ching Shan said. "Hee. It's better to follow you, Ching Shan." Tung Chinghu laughed. Very quickly, the two of them finished their breakfast and headed towards the drill ground with a large number of Black Armored Army sergeants. On the drill ground, training began with each 100-soldier squad as a square. The 100 soldiers under Tung Ching Shan's command were all wearing heavy armor and practicing their spear arts. When a large number of soldiers were fighting, there was no need for superb and complicated spear skills. A simple stab would suffice. What was needed was strength and speed. Tung Ching Shan watched and supervised carefully. Suddenly, Tung Ching Shan glanced at another 100-soldier squad not far away. Tung Chinghu was in that squad. Brother Tian Dan. Tung Ching Shan smiled and walked to the centurion of the 100-soldier squad, Tian Dan. They were under the same commandant. Of course, the centurions got to know each other after drinking last night. "Brother Ching Shan." Tian Dan walked over with a smile, holding a long spear. Tung Ching Shan said directly, "Brother Tian Dan, I have a favor to ask. Just say it. I'll definitely help if I can." Tian Dan was very forthright. Chapter 87. Yesterday, Tung Ching Shan and this Tian Dan drank quite a lot of wine. He was sure that this Tian Dan was a forthright person. "Brother Tian Dan, it's like this. My cousin, Tung Chinghu, came to the Gue Yuan sect together with me from my hometown. Yesterday, he became a corporal and was assigned to your 100-man squad. I was thinking if it's possible to transfer my cousin to my 100-man squad." Tung Ching Shan said directly, "And from my 100-man squad, I'll transfer another corporal to your 100-man squad." Tian Dan frowned. "Why, is there a problem?" Tung Ching Shan asked. "You guys are brothers. Of course, I won't object to you transferring Tung Chinghu to your side. But for 2 100-man squads to exchange with each other, this matter must be approved by Lord Commandant." Tian Dan looked at Tung Ching Shan. "Brother Ching Shan, our Lord Commandant drank with us last night. You've also seen him. He is a very arrogant person." Indeed, the Commandant's approval was needed to be approved by 2 100-man squads. "You mean Shirasaki Commandant?" Tung Ching Shan frowned slightly. "Brother Ching Shan, you've just joined the Black Armored Corps, so you probably haven't seen through Shirasaki Commandant. Don't judge him by his polite appearance. but in fact, he's very arrogant. He's a core disciple of the Gui Yuan sect, so he looks down on outsiders like us who join the Black Armored Corps. Tian Dan said. There were two sources of soldiers in the Black Armored Corps. One was a disciple of the Gui Yuan sect who entered the Black Armored Corps. The second was the large number of outsiders joining the Black Armored Corps. For example, Tung Qingshan, Tung Qinghu, and Gong Yanqing belonged to the second category. Wu Man, as well as Commander Zhang Feng and the others, belonged to the first category. The first was because they had been disciples of the Gui Yuan sect since they were young and had been nurtured by the Gui Yuan sect. He would join the Black Armored Corps once he was strong enough. Of course, these people were more trusted by the Gui Yuan sect. An army commandant or other important official positions. Strength was one aspect, but loyalty was even more important. Shirasaki Commandant probably won't make things difficult for me for such a small matter. Tung Qingshan said. Brother Qingshan, be polite later. Shirasaki Commandant is a person who cares a lot about his reputation. He might agree. Tian Dan advised. Look, Shirasaki Commandant is over there now. Tian Dan pointed into the distance. Tung Qingshan looked in the direction pointed. In the eastern region of the drill ground, there were many centurions commandant and the others practicing sword, spear, and saber techniques alone. There were also many people sparring with each other. Among them, there was a young man with a mustache practicing his spear technique. Whoosh, whoosh. The spear was like a swimming dragon, the spearhead turning into a circle. This person was one of the three commandant under the first commander, Shirasaki. Shirasaki glanced into the distance and saw Tung Qingshan and Tian Dan walking towards him side by side. Shirasaki couldn't help but ask, what are they doing here? During morning training, there were high requirements for ordinary soldiers and corporals. However, there were no mandatory requirements for centurions, commandant, and commanders. Lord Commandant. Tung Qingshan smiled and shouted from afar. Oh, Qingshan. Shirasaki immediately smiled and put away his spear. He walked over and said, Qingshan, how do you feel on your first day of morning training? 6,000 people training together. It's quite exciting. Tung Qingshan said. 6,000 black armors. Actually, there aren't 6,000 people on the drill ground. There are only 5,000 people. Shirasaki Commandant touched his mustache and said, Our Black Armor Corps always has some soldiers outside to complete some missions. Tung Qingshan nodded in understanding. Tian Dan said, Lord Commandant, Brother Qingshan came to find you today because he has a favor to ask. Oh, what is it? Just say it. As long as I can help, I will definitely help. Shirasaki Commandant said it without hesitation. Tung Qingshan relaxed a little and said, It's like this. My brother Tung Qinghu and I came from our hometown and joined the Black Armored Corps together. He is now a corporal under Brother Tian Dan's command. I want to transfer my brother to my side. This shouldn't be a big problem. Shirasaki Commandant listened, but was silent. Lord Commandant, Tung Qingshan shouted. Qingshan, Shirasaki said solemnly, This is the Black Armored Corps. The military discipline of the Black Armored Corps is not child's play. You can't just change people just because you want to. Tung Qinghu was transferred to Tian Dan's command. That was personally decided by the commander. How can I change it so easily? This is only one point. More importantly, Qingshan, the corporals under your command, are familiar with the soldiers. Naturally, it will be easier for them to lead the troops. Now that you want to change two corporals, they will definitely not be used to it. Shirasaki Commandant said solemnly, I can't help you with this matter. Tung Qingshan frowned. This Shirasaki actually talked to him about military discipline. This kind of cliché was useless to Tung Qingshan, who had lived two lives. Lord Commandant, this is just a small matter. I believe that my cousin and the corporal under my command will quickly familiarize themselves with the new subordinates. It will not affect the military strength of the Black Armored Corps at all. Lord Commandant, please help me. Tung Qingshan said with a smile. Tung Qingshan, will remember Lord Commandant's kindness. Shirasaki Commandant was dissatisfied. Shan, it's not that I want to criticize you, but although you two brothers are not in the same 100-men squad, you are still in the same Black Armored Corps. You can see each other every day. Why do you want your cousin to join your squad? I can't agree to this. Moreover, you have to control your temper. We are the Black Armored Corps, not some random gang. You can't just do whatever you want. Shan was a little dissatisfied. This Shirasaki, with the tone of "this is the Black Armored Corps, military discipline must be respected, no matter where in this world," it was impossible to avoid the ways of the world. Talking about military discipline also depended on the time. If it was a critical moment, an important matter, Shan would certainly not ask for it. But letting Qinghu join their team was just a small matter that was not worth mentioning. But the other party insisted on using a chicken feather as a token of authority. Shirasaki's words might have fooled most young boys. But Shan had the experience of two lives after all. Brother Shan, Tian Dan, gave him a look. Shan did not beg Shirasaki anymore, and left with Tian Dan. Shirasaki Commandant, looking at Shan's back as he left, sneered in his heart. "Umph, a poor boy at the foot of the mountain thinks he is so great just because he has a few good spear techniques? What kind of thing is that?" There were usually two reactions to people with great talent. One was admiration, respect, appreciation, and the second was jealousy. This Shirasaki Commandant spoke in a dignified manner, but in reality, he was a narrow-minded person. Shan was in the limelight yesterday, and Shirasaki was somewhat dissatisfied. This is the Black Armored Corps, not a gang. The most important thing in the Black Armored Corps is loyalty. Without loyalty, no matter how strong you are, you can forget about being a commandant, a commander. Shirasaki sneered. A centurion could be relied on, but a commandant, a commander with a faction of the Gue Yuan sect. You are destined to be a centurion for the rest of your life, and to be under my command for the rest of your life. Shirasaki was very happy at this moment, and began practicing his spear techniques in satisfaction. Shan and Tian Dan walked side by side. "I didn't expect Brother Tian Dan to be right," Shan said with a helpless smile. Tian Dan comforted him. "Brother Shan, don't be too bothered." That Shirasaki Commandant spoke in a dignified manner. But deep down, he looks down on us. But there is no other way. He is a core disciple of the Gue Yuan sect, and the Gue Yuan sect trusts him. However, the Gue Yuan sect does not prohibit centurions, commandant, and commander from challenging each other. You can challenge him and beat him up to vent your anger. As long as no one dies, it's fine. Centurions, commandant, and commander were all first-rated warriors. The Gue Yuan sect did not prohibit each other from challenging each other. Beat him up. Shan thought for a while, smiled, and did not say anything else. Beat him up to vent his anger? A reckless young man might do that. But it was impossible for Shan to do such a thing that would not only bring him harm, but also harm him. No matter what, the current Shirasaki Commandant looked down on most centurions. He did not specifically target him, but if he beat him up to vent his anger, then in the future, he would really be in trouble. There is no need for that now. Shan thought in his heart. This kind of narrow-minded small fry was not worth provoking. After all, small fry were difficult to deal with. After the morning exercise, the soldiers rested. Qinghu and his 9 subordinates were sitting on the ground, chatting casually. "Hey, brothers." Qinghu casually chatted with his 9 subordinates. "Coming to the Gue Yuan sect, I should be able to learn inner strength secret manuals. Why didn't I see any secret manuals, and the Gue Yuan sect did not give them to me?" "Sir," one of the soldiers laughed. "Entering the Black Armored Corps, of course there will be inner strength secret manuals to cultivate. Why didn't I see it?" Qinghu frowned. "Sir, the inner strength secret manual is carved on the big stone tablet at the north side of the drill ground. Every Black Armored Corps soldier can read it and practice it." Another soldier said, "That inner strength secret manual is the Black Armored Corps' unified inner strength secret manual, and its power is not bad. But some powerful experts have inner strength secret manuals themselves and do not need to practice that kind of inner strength secret manual. On the stone tablet at the north side, everyone can see it. Tung Chinghu's eyes lit up, and he stood up and looked to the north. There was indeed a big stone tablet at the north side of the drill ground. Tung Chinghu was very clear that he and Tung Chingshan both practiced Tiger Fist, which gave them inner strength. In essence, Tiger Fist could not be considered as an inner strength secret manual. Towards inner strength secret manuals, Tung Chingshan and Tung Chinghu were both very eager. What's it called? Tung Chinghu felt his heart beating faster. Vigor of the Reckless Bull. It can be considered as a very good inner strength secret manual. The soldiers said, "It is an inner strength secret manual with a very strong attack." Another soldier praised, "In the eyes of ordinary soldiers, Vigor of the Reckless Bull was indeed a very high-quality secret manual. And in the eyes of people like Yu Song, who was taught by a famous teacher, Vigor of the Reckless Bull was simply not worth his attention." However, for people like Tung Chingshan and Tung Chinghu, who had never practiced inner strength secret manuals, Vigor of the Reckless Bull was a treasure. Vigor of the Reckless Bull? Tung Chinghu immediately stood up and ran towards Tung Chingshan, who was not far away. He wanted to tell Tung Chingshan this news. Chapter 88. At the edge of the training ground, many centurions and commandant were practicing. They were all experts at the peak of the post-liminary realm. Each of them had their own unique training methods. Tung Chingshan was practicing the three postures. Chi, Hu, one step on the ground, one kick and one punch. The movements of the three postures looked very simple and ordinary. If one didn't have a high understanding of Xing Yi martial arts, as well as a deep understanding of the three postures and the concept of Xing Yi martial arts, it would be impossible to discover the profoundness of the three postures. The surrounding people noticed that Tung Chingshan was practicing the three postures, but they didn't find anything special about this fist art. The concept of cannon fist evolved into a spear art. How should this spear art be executed? How can the instantaneous explosive force be generated through the spear art? Tung Chingshan hoped to find the answer from the three postures. He practiced the three postures over and over again while pondering. My Tiger Cannon Fist is the strongest fist art among the many secret techniques of Xing Yi martial arts. However, I can't even transfer the concept of cannon fist to the spear art, let alone the concept of Tiger Cannon Fist. Among the five-element fists, Tung Chingshan had completely converted the burst fist, horizontal fist, and drill fist into the spear art. However, Tung Chingshan hadn't succeeded in transforming the cannon fist and slash fist into the spear art. The difficulty was too high. Tung Chingshan suddenly saw Tung Chinghu walking over from afar. "I want cousin to join my 100-man team, but that Shirasaki is making things difficult for me. Cousin must be a little disappointed." Tung Chingshan stopped practicing the three postures and walked towards Tung Chinghu. Chingshan. Tung Chinghu's face was full of joy. "Cousin," Tung Chingshan said helplessly, "that Shirasaki commandant doesn't agree to let you join my 100-man team." Tung Chinghu was stunned. He glanced at Shirasaki commandant, who was practicing his marksmanship in the distance. He lowered his voice and said, "That Shirasaki commandant? Why are you not giving me any face? I heard that out of Gong Yangqing's 7 brothers, 3 of them were transferred to his own 100-man team." Tung Chingshan also understood that Shirasaki commandant was deliberately making things difficult for him. But even if he understood, so what? With 2 official words, wouldn't he still be at the mercy of the other party? Forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. Chingshan, I have to tell you a piece of good news. Tung Chinghu said proudly. Oh, Tung Chingshan was a little surprised. What could be called a joyous occasion? Chingshan, when we came to this Gui Yuan sect, didn't we say that the Gui Yuan sect's Black Armored Corps has an inner strength secret manual to cultivate? Until now, have you found out what kind of secret manual the Black Armored Corps is cultivating? Tung Chinghu pretended to be mysterious. Tung Chingshan's eyes suddenly lit up. Inner Strength Secret Manual? Whether it was his previous life or this life, Tung Chingshan had never seen an Inner Strength Secret Manual. The only secret manual he had was the Qinggong Secret Manual Crossing Worlds. The Qinggong Secret Manual was only used to consume inner strength. It couldn't be used to cultivate inner strength. What was the real Inner Strength Secret Manual like? Tung Chingshan didn't know. Qinghu, you know? Tung Chingshan felt his heart beating faster. Yes, I also know where this secret manual is, Tung Chinghu said proudly. This secret manual is called Vigor of the Reckless Bull. Vigor of the Reckless Bull. These 5 words caused Tung Chingshan's blood to boil. Finally, he could finally see an Inner Strength Secret Manual. Where is it? Tung Chingshan asked anxiously. Look, over there, that stone tablet. Tung Chinghu pointed to the north of the drill ground. Tung Chingshan looked in the direction that Chinghu was pointing and saw a blurry, tall black stone tablet in the distance. Let's go. Tung Chingshan grabbed the reincarnation spear and immediately ran in that direction. He had been waiting for this Inner Strength Manual for far too long. The tall stone tablet was completely black. The stone tablet was covered in dust after being exposed to the sun and wind all year round. However, the words carved on the stone tablet were very clear. At the top of the stone tablet were 5 big words. Vigor of the Reckless Bull. Tung Chingshan and Tung Chinghu were looking at the stone tablet. Not only Tung Chingshan and Tung Chinghu, but many other warriors who had just joined the Black Armored Corps were also looking at the stone tablet. Some of them even took pen and paper and started recording. Vigor of the Reckless Bull. Tung Chingshan's eyes lit up as he read the contents of the stone tablet. Vigor of the Reckless Bull was created by the 12th sovereign of the Gui Yuan sect, Fengshan. It is one of the most powerful secret manuals in the Gui Yuan sect among the human-level secret manuals. Tung Chingshan had also heard that secret manuals were mainly divided into heaven level, earth level, human level, and unranked level. However, for many people, there was not much difference between heaven level, earth level, and human level. This was because, compared to human level, heaven level and earth level had more cultivation methods after reaching the innate realm. However, how many people could actually reach the innate realm? Therefore, a good human-level secret manual was completely enough for the majority of people. Although this Vigor of the Reckless Bull is extremely powerful, it is also extremely difficult to practice. Therefore, although its power is considered to be extremely powerful among the human-level secret manuals, because of its high difficulty, it can only be considered as medium among the human-level secret manuals. This Vigor of the Reckless Bull is divided into 9 levels. When one cultivates to the 5th level, he will have the strength of 10,000 jin and can be considered as a first-rated warrior. After that, with every increase in level, his strength will advance by leaps and bounds. When one reaches the highest level, the 9th level, it will be difficult to find a match among the post-liminary realm experts. When Tung Chingshan saw this passage, he could not help but be secretly shocked. The 5th level already had the strength of 10,000 jin. After that, with every increase in level, his strength would advance by leaps and bounds. Then, how strong would the 9th level be? When Tung Chingshan saw this passage, he could not help but sigh. Similarly, he can be considered as a first-rated warrior, the peak of the post-liminary realm. However, practicing different secret manuals will result in a huge difference in strength. That Yu Song, with one move of the wave stacking style, could probably easily kill a group of first-rated warriors. This was the result of the secret manuals. Which part of the Vigor of the Reckless Bull is difficult to practice? Tung Chingshan continued to read. It is easy to practice Vigor of the Reckless Bull at the beginning, but it will become more and more difficult in the future. This is because, with every breakthrough, new meridians must be opened. If you want to practice Vigor of the Reckless Bull to the 9th level, you must open all the 8 extraordinary meridians. But even among the innate rankers, only a small number of them can open all the 8 extraordinary meridians. Seeing this, Tung Ching Shan suddenly understood. No wonder its power is so great, but can only be considered as the middle of the human-level secret manuals. To open all the 8 extraordinary meridians? According to the method of the inner strength secret manuals, every time a meridian is opened, there will be more impurities in the other meridians. The further you go, the harder it will be to advance. To open all the 8 extraordinary meridians is indeed as difficult as ascending to heaven. Even among the innate rankers, only a small number of them can open all the 8 extraordinary meridians. From this sentence, Tung Ching Shan understood something. Stepping into the innate realm from the postliminary realm had nothing to do with opening all the meridians. Also, even the majority of the innate rankers had not opened all the 8 extraordinary meridians, not to mention all the meridians in the body. Haha, it may be difficult for others, but for me, not to mention the 8 extraordinary meridians and 12 standard meridians, I have opened all the other meridians and minor meridians. Tung Ching Shan felt carefree. It was indeed a wise decision for him not to come to the Gui Yuan sect when he was young. These years, his cultivation of the internal martial arts had reached the peak. All the meridians in his body were unobstructed. With his aptitude, no matter what secret manual he practiced, his cultivation speed would be extremely terrifying. Tung Ching Shan continued to read, "Remember, when practicing the inner strength secret manual, you must be calm and find a quiet place where there are no outsiders to disturb you. Otherwise, once you are disturbed and your mind is in chaos, your inner strength will enter the unopened meridians and break them. If you are lucky, you will become a cripple. If you are unlucky, you will die after your meridians are broken." Vigor of the Reckless Bull, first level. Concentration. In front of this stone tablet, Tung Ching Shan began to practice the vigor of the Reckless Bull. Qi deviation? Why would Tung Ching Shan be afraid of qi deviation? All the meridians in his body were unobstructed, and his inner strength could instantly reach every part of his body. For others, if their meridians were diverted, it would be a nightmare. But for Tung Ching Shan, it didn't affect him at all. According to the mnemonic chant, Tung Ching Shan began to revolve the first level of the vigor of the Reckless Bull. This inner strength secret manual is indeed different from the internal martial arts. Tung Ching Shan followed the mnemonic chant. Sometimes it was fast, sometimes it was slow. He controlled his inner strength and revolved it in the hand Taiyang meridian of the 12 standard meridians. The flow of inner strength was like a cleaner that carefully revolved in this meridian, cleansing the walls of the meridian and stimulating the meridians. At the same time, when the meridian revolved, the inner strength automatically absorbed the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. The internal martial arts relied on breathing to refine the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. As for the inner strength secret manual, it allowed the inner strength to refine and absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. Qi, the inner strength, was like a dragon swimming rapidly. Tung Ching Shan's meridians were like a wide road. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Tung Ching Shan began to practice the second level of the vigor of the Reckless Bull. Actually, Tung Ching Shan's meridians were all unobstructed, so he could directly practice the highest level. But this time, it was his first time practicing the inner strength secret manual. In order to comprehend it, Tung Ching Shan cautiously practiced from the first level. Yes, the speed of absorbing the spiritual qi of heaven and earth has obviously increased by a lot. Tung Ching Shan was overjoyed. The path of the circulation had become longer, and the speed of absorbing and refining the spiritual qi was much faster. The speed of refining the inner strength is more than 10 times faster than when I relied on the Tiger Fist. This was only the second level. Tung Ching Shan finally understood the difference between the internal martial arts and the inner strength secret manuals. The internal martial arts mainly nourished and strengthened the body. Everything was based on nurturing and strengthening the body. The Inner Strength Secret Manual purely absorbed the spiritual chi of heaven and earth to refine the inner strength. Fortunately, this is the ancient times. Otherwise, in the modern times, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth would have dissipated and the Inner Strength Secret Manual would be useless. Tung Qingshan practiced at an extremely fast speed. After a while, he also completed the second level. His cultivation speed was definitely the most exaggerated in the history of the land of the 9 prefectures. Yes, let's start the third level. Tung Qingshan quickly stepped into the third level. Immediately, the speed of refining the spiritual chi of heaven and earth increased again. The inner strength began to separate from the 2 different meridians. Then it merged and followed a wonderful path. Occasionally, it would slightly slow down and stimulate the acupuncture points. What a wonderful feeling! Tung Qingshan could clearly feel that his meridians were affected, but the effect was extremely slight. The fourth level. Without any hesitation, Tung Qingshan began to practice the fourth level. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.